Welcome to Plus One Shoot the Shit. This is Plus One Shots talk after or talk show, whatever we want to call it, where I trap all of my friends in a chat room with me for a couple of hours and we talk about a topic that is interesting to all of us. Almost ad nauseum. It'll be fun. We're probably going to tangent, and all of us have a lot to say, but I'm going to go ahead and go down the list and introduce everybody, starting with Aaron, whose topic it is tonight.
Oh, I'm Aaron. It's my topic tonight, I guess.
Yay.
The person
I play in a multitude of games on here. I am a regular fixture, unfortunately for some of you.
Never. Always fortunate. Blessed.
Blessed. Hashtag blessed. Pound sign. It's not a hashtag. Fuck off. I had a rotary phone.
Okay, Granddad.
Right.
Yeah, Octothorpe. Yep.
It makes sense. 4 points.
I actually love that sound. That name. I'm James. It was my idea to do this stupid thing that we're doing right now, so if anything happens bad, it's all on me, I guess. I play in a few of our games. I've run a few games on the channel, and on top of all of that, I am a prolific player of games and listen-toer of podcasts and reader of the systems, and I really need to find a way to manage my free time in a more constructive fashion. Moving on to Philip.
Hi, I'm Philip. I run a game, and I play in 2 other games, and yeah, I've been playing D&D and a couple other systems for, I don't know, 15 years or so now.
More than
So
that.
yeah, I like talking about it.
Next up is Denitra, whose birthday it is, by the way. Everybody shout happy birthday at her real quick. Happy birthday, Denitra!
Hi, Aaron.
Thank you,
It's
everybody.
my birthday.
Anton.
Fucking Charles hits the nut button and I get
Yeah,
called
it's
out.
fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
So, yeah, I'm Denitra. It is my birthday today. I play in 2 of the games featured here. I've been playing off and on for, oh gosh, I guess almost 20 years, because my very first game was with
This day 20 years ago.
oh god, no. my first game I played with Charles's friends when we moved out to Arizona for college. And it wasn't exactly the best experience, but you know what? I learned a lot, and yeah, and I'm still sometimes begrudgingly playing nowadays.
And we're all happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Next up, from Down Under, Anton.
Oh my gosh.
Hello. Why? What's oh my gosh?
Is New Zealand still down under technically?
I mean, it's still down under the equator, but we don't call New Zealand down under.
We don't?
Look, there's a
no.
Does that mean can we call Antarctica down under?
Yes.
There you go. All right. That's all I need clarified.
So there's a simple rule where if we want to take Australia's like achievements, we recognize ourselves as being partially Australian. If we want to distance ourselves, we just throw them under the bus. So it's basically the standard little brother affair. I'm Anton. I run one of the games on Plus One Shot, and I play in another. And I've been playing or running D&D, well, not necessarily just D&D, just role-playing games for about 12 years, relatively consistently. So that's me.
And finally, of course, we have Charles.
Hi, hello. I don't run any games on this channel. I don't think I've done that in like 2 years.
Since we actually started.
Yeah, since the very beginning. Something like that.
The dream, what's it taste like?
This is why I set this all up. I didn't set this all up. It's finally to play, because before this, I was a forever DM for about 20 years.
I was going to say, don't say it out loud. It hurts yourself when you say it out loud.
Yeah, since that game in Arizona, I had DM since, I think.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right.
Yep. Any system, everywhere, online, offline, doesn't matter. And I'm going to do it again, because you can't stop me.
Can't be contained.
I can't fucking wait. I love playing in your games. Speaking of which, I'm going to tangent just for a second and shout out the OG Death by D4 crew, who is with me here today. We have
Mm.
Charles, we have Philip, we have Denitra. Everyone who the first actual, I think, organized game that I ever played more than one session of was the Naruto D20 with you guys.
Oh
Way
my
to make
God.
Anton and I feel excluded. Thank you.
That's
I
right.
love you both very much and will smooch you on the mouth. This is not what
Don't
that
Believe
is.
it.
Don't make me run Naruto D20.
I would
Don't make me do
totally
it.
play that again.
I would.
I would not.
I don't
I
want
would
you to
totally
because
play it.
Charles, we
That's it.
know how bad that system was.
Oh yes, it's not. It
That's-
was not good.
That's saying something, Anton, because you said you want to play Shadowrun again. So for you to not want to play
No, see-
something is fucking amazing. Is
I'm
a
just-
Yeah,
stretch.
actually, that's kind of rude, Anton. You want to play Shadowrun, but
Shadowrun's
D20
like a-
basic is too much?
Shadowrun's like a heroin addiction. Like, you know it's a terrible
okay.
thing to get into, but you don't do it for a while. You're like, man,
You just look down at your wrist and you don't, or you look down at your hand and it's like looking at your wrist with the needle mark, but it's a hand not full of D6s.
yeah, pretty
No,
much.
don't worry. My next one is either Beacon or Lancer. One of these days.
Oh,
It's gonna happen.
Nice. I just got my copy of Everyday Heroes, which is the new the new making of D20 Modern
That's right.
for 5th edition.
Right, right.
We could redo that Ghostbusters game.
That would be fun.
All
I
right,
did
so
enjoy that one.
with introductions out of the way, I'm going to try to see if we want to stick to our topic that we have for tonight. The topic was posted by Aaron, our lovely Aaron. Everybody clap. Thank you, Aaron.
As
Can't
everyone
hear it
looks
'cause
for the
I'm
button.
pushed to talk.
Yeah, push to talk. Sorry.
Nobody's looking for the. Okay.
Yeah, you're not going to hear it anyway, motherfucker, because I have it muted.
Still gonna show up on my screen, I think.
It will.
Yeah,
Um,
little hand pops up.
what you need to do is you need to modify the clap sound so that's the clap from the end of Evangelion.
Hmm.
Omedeto, omedeto. So the topic that we are going to be talking about tonight is specifically, I have it on my little rubric. Yeah.
It was basic character archetypes and playing against type when
Yes.
playing certain things.
And so I want to work our way into there. And to start with that, I want to do an icebreaker that goes back from the back forward, starting at Charles. If you had a main that you play in games, what archetype do you tend to play?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I try and change it at all times, but usually I play either the tech savvy person or the one who kind of knows what's going on. Like, just in general, I play the huckster or the talkie or the smart one, usually. I don't think that I have ever really played a barbarian except for like once on this channel, I think. Yeah,
Wow.
I think that would be it.
You played in my game as a barbarian. And you
Yep,
played a
that was the one.
barbarian that pretended
Was
he
smart.
knew a lot about magic.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, Anton, what do you like playing?
So, forgive the terminology, but Space, hands down, and Blaster are the two that I usually gravitate towards.
Of course,
I
you would
am
pick the
trying
Shadowrun
to-
terms. Go on.
I know. I do try to branch out, and I think I've said that I like in different games I play and games I run, I just try to challenge the things that I'm usually like comfortable with. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but definitely my comfort picks are Base and Blaster. So
Nice. Denitra.
Well, in my years of playing games, I have basically stuck to the same archetypes of characters and same role in the battle. Like, I usually would play some sort of hot person caster that, like, bar none, just basically any game that I played until fairly recently in Philip's game, I finally went out of my comfort zone and I'm playing a Dragonborn Barbarian. And that is so much fun, but still a lot of my familiar character tropes still kind of eke into that character. I can't really help it, but you know, I'm working on it.
Listen, the most fun I had with you playing a character was Tiki's one shot where you played you played a disgusting goblin, because I could see you fighting yourself, wanting to do like I should do the gross thing, but me personally, I hate the gross thing. So
Yeah.
watching your little internal struggle, I was just like,
It was magical, honestly.
Oh, okay. So once again, you guys just like seeing me suffer.
Yes.
No, I like seeing you stretch your chops.
Oh my god. Also, I keep trying to play characters that are supposed to be like quick-witted or mean, and that's difficult too.
Oh, we can get to that when we talk about Teens with Attitude when it comes to your characters that you all chose. I'm sure we'll get there tonight. Philip?
Oh, that's a tough one. Most of them, I want to play casters. I like that style, but a lot of times there's so many options, and I easily get overwhelmed with like, well, I could do this spell or I could do that spell. Maybe I could be an illusionist, in like D&D. And it's like, no, they don't do much damage. If I'm going to be the damage guy, I guess I could go that. And so I sort of like start to try and like min max, and then I'm like, I don't want to min max. I want to play something fun. And then I'm not going to do this. And then I usually go for like a more of a melee style. So usually what happens to me, I overthink myself out of casters.
You just overthink yourself right back into fighter.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
fair.
like, well, there's a bunch of cool things they can do, but I know I'm always going to swing.
As for me personally, hi, my name is James. I have been declared by every single friend to have been a himbo for as long as they've known me. So I like paladins because they're basically just himbos that believe in God, which is kind of a stretch for me, but in a magical world where gods are proven to exist, no, that's pretty normal.
Seems fair.
Yeah. Any game in which I try to stretch myself to play something other than me, because it is very easy for me to fall into grabby hands face with smashy stick, and I need to be careful of that because I like being too many things at once, and that tends to be the death of party specificity. So that's me. Aaron, what do you like playing?
I mean, for my D&D experience is pretty new, honestly. Like, I didn't really play any D&D games until we started this channel. Well, I played, I think, 4E once in college, but nobody fucking told me how to play. So I played a ranger, and the guy didn't tell me I had any spells or I had a pet. So I was pretty much just a fighter with a bow. But worse.
Which honestly, in 4E, rangers were fucking scary with bows.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even use the bow. I used like a short sword and an axe. Like I said, nobody told me how to fucking play the game pretty much. I pretty much was playing a ranger like a rogue with none of my other abilities. But before that, I played Palladia, which is another D20 system, Rifts and stuff like that before this. And I usually tried to be like the in-between. Like I usually try to play a support character who's like, oh, I'm either range support or a quasi semi-magic support and like a skill monkey. So I'm like, okay, I've got skills that the other characters don't have to fill in the blanks. In D&D, I've kind of been pigeonholing myself into just being like the gruff guy in the back who's like just help is support pretty much.
Very cool.
So now, with that in mind, something that comes up from that kind of topic, there are a bunch of us here that actually do this, and that is that I think we all tend to try to play off-type a little bit, in so much as we try not to gravitate towards what's comfortable to us. I would say most everybody in this group right now could say that, yeah?
Been trying, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
No. I find playing a rich, attractive person easy, so that's my easy mode.
I think it's easy for me to play like an amenable character, someone who's like, "Oh, is that what you want to do? Okay, sure. Oh, we're gonna kill the good guys now? Okay, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we can do. Oh, we want to go burn down the city? Okay, sure. Just like whatever like the party wants to do. I usually end up playing a character that's just like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. I have a hard time like being like, at least in Anton's game, is the first time I've started to be like, I have a very strong opinion about something, and I will kill anyone for it.
So, like, with that in mind, I think our topic span is how we go about the archetypes of character classes, but then how we play against type. I think you can't really talk about that until you talk about like how a person goes about making their character in the first place. For me, I always like to start with an idea of something mechanically that I want that character to do in the system, try to build towards that, and as I build towards that, I try to describe in universe why that character got to that point that they're good at the thing they're doing. So like I always try to look at the skills that they have on their skill tree and their stat alignments based off of what I was trying to do with them, and then seeing something interesting, like trying to find the flaws, trying to find their strengths, trying to find what it would be that was in their background that made them do this. I am a sucker for urchin, for example, when it comes to D&D. I tend to like to make rogues, and I really like making urchins because it makes their background very very easy to understand that they're coming from Scrappy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself kind of playing from the opposite direction where like I have an idea for a character and then I just go, well, how can I make this? Like what? Then I'll just like hunt through and be like, oh, well, this is close. This is kind of, and then a lot of times I'm like, oh, well, if I multi-class and it's completely the mad doesn't work at all. And then I was like, oh, well, I'll just have to sacrifice and do like a kind of version of this, but it's close enough for me, whatever. And then I'll justify like, oh, well, this is why, and hope it flies. hope the lore will fly.
Meanwhile, I know that some people here, I'm calling you out real quick, Charles, know their build to 20 a lot of the time.
Every time, yeah.
Yeah.
At all times. I have about 90 characters on D&D Beyond, and most of them are just up-leveled versions of characters that I'm playing. Like Lan for Philip's game, have them all the way up to 10. I had Alexos up to 15. Like I think about what they're gonna be, and that's how I figure out how they are now. Like that's how I keep from playing to exactly one type, because like Lan, he's an idiot. He thinks he's Indiana Jones. But one of my favorite characters, Elistor, it is very risk averse, 100%. So I just like to play characters that you don't rely on me. I think that's the best thing, because I know that people know that I've played a lot, and they're like, we're just going to follow him. And so I answer stupidly and go, no, I want to touch the glowing thing. Yeah, let's do that. And then they stop me, usually.
Yeah.
A character whose motto is, today is a good day to die. It's
Exactly.
not one you want to follow.
Exactly, right? Like I'm not going that far, or at least in that way. I don't think I have any Klingons. No, not at all. But mostly the ones who are like, yeah, we'll be fine. We're adventurous. This is good. This is what we do. What are we talking about?
The story doesn't end in a stupid way. The story ends in a dramatic way. So obviously the most dramatic thing is going to happen. That's going to be the ending of the story.
Whew.
What do you mean that door almost killed me because it was going to close while I was under it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. I mean, so that brings up, god dang it, I kind of lost my thread there, but that does bring up an interesting point of when you build a character out and you trying to play against type. I think that is definitely, to pull back to that, something that I almost will never, when I am in a group of people that I enjoy and I want them to have fun playing at a table with me, will play anybody with a charisma score. I don't want to be the face. If I have that power available to me, I will be too talkative, I feel. And so I try to restrict myself from that. And that's one of the ways that I try to play against type, because I like being the one in charge of a conversation. I like being the one who talks and has an idea and wants to keep going. And like I'm doing right now, it's a kind of thing where if I'm able to express myself to the people that I'm around, I can't stop myself without actually setting a stat block against me and saying, that's not you. You don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever really noticed that about myself. Like I have a hard time I guess playing to my stats. even if I have a dumb character or a non-charismatic character, I think I would still, I'd still have ideas and be like, oh, hey, everybody, what if we do this? And it would be out of character for my, 9 intelligence, goblinoid to be giving these ideas, but it's just sort of like me as the person is giving the ideas to the group rather than it coming from, and someone else can say that their character had the idea.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I've never really thought about trying to be the intelligence or the charisma of my characters because I don't try to be the strength of my characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I do think about that sometimes, but I very rarely ever actually follow through with it. I find that what am I trying to say? Because rolling back a little bit to how we build characters, I'm definitely lean more towards Charles's way of doing it, of
Mhm.
looking mechanically at the character creation system. Okay, so here's this build that I found because I went off and did some research into how the system works, and I want to see what are some things that work for people, what's some things that other work, and start finding things that I think sound interesting or funny or wacky or whatever. So get a build idea from that. Once I have a build that actually works, figure out who the character is by playing it in the game. Because my mind is, I will say something or someone will say something to my character that I'll latch onto and go, haha, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And then that'll organically start to become a part of the character. So I don't really have my character's personality or even my backstory in mind until maybe 4 or 5 games in. And that sort of goes in the same vein of I'm not going to, like, I might look at the stats as a inspiration or a starting point, but it's almost certainly going to change once I interact with other people.
That's very interesting, and that's, I think, something to latch onto real quick, because when you play a game like this, there's the story that you think you're going to tell based off how you make your character, and there's a story that actually shows up in game. And whether it's because you just get a character that rolls like trash even though they're a rogue, or you get a character who is...
Yo, it's Castus.
Oh, I'm sad again.
Wow.
You didn't roll bad last session. I think you were pretty up there.
Which session?
Diablo.
I wasn't at last D&D Diablo. Last D&D Diablo didn't happen.
No, I'm saying the last one we did. You were rolling pretty good.
We didn't do a lot of rolling last session. We didn't do a lot of rolling. I think we was mostly puzzle solving.
But I think that's definitely, you know what, I'm gonna keep shouting out tips. A player tip is something to keep track of. Is your character is constantly changing, evolving, and being a person that has to interact with their world and respond to it. So if you find yourself with your character going, oh, well, I thought I was going to be this suave, debonair person, but for some odd reason, like just the way I mesh maybe with the DM or any other number of factors, dice rolls, or just maybe I'm just a fish out of water in this situation. I'm like a cool, city person, and we're in the jungle. And so it's like, oh, I'm not the badass here who can slip through alleys and do all these things. Suddenly I'm tripping over trees and there's bugs everywhere and all of my nice clothes are getting torn and I hate this.
I mean, that's kind of what's happened with Malkias, where he was like a suave presence, and now he's like a disgruntled fucking babysitter, just having to like follow this group around.
He's turning into his dad.
His dad was never a babysitter. That would require attention to other people.
Well, no, he's just yeah,
he became king of the goats, so
he did become king of the goats. But yeah, like when I started off, I was like, yeah, he's gonna be just kind of this chill guy, and now like he fucking loses his temper so fast because everybody is just like touching everything and asking the dumbest questions and just trying to rig a trebuchet in a crypt with a pile of bones. Like, fucking stop, we're not doing this.
Have any of you ever
happens anyway?
Have any of you ever had your character get away from you?
What do you mean?
Unfortunately, no.
Which way?
What I mean is, like, you are in a situation where you know as a player what you want to do, and your character's like, no, that's not what we're doing. We would do this.
Yeah.
The Mun versus the...
Absolutely. Quite a few times. That's the way that I like to play, because I know that these are stupid.
It's
Mun versus Muse.
Mun versus Muse. Please explain. I don't know that one.
Yeah.
So the Mun, that's you. You're the mundane. The Muse is the character. So sometimes, depending on how I'm sorry, Charles, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
But how you play your character, that's your muse. Sometimes the muse takes over, like pile of bones. You shouldn't go digging in there to see what's in there because you're just like, yeah, that looks stupid. But your character's like, but adventure. There might be treasure beneath the bones. Like, all right, go ahead, see what fucking happens.
It's like, I know I'm going to regret this dice roll. Let's go.
Yep.
I swear to God, every time it feels like the character's looking up at me. I've had just a few moments where the character looks up at me like an expectant child, and my brain is just like, but I want to do this now. I'm like, I don't have the wherewithal to stop you. You're so adorable. Go ahead, get yourself hurt,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the time that I remember the most is when we were playing 4th edition. First time I played Elistor, who was very much a hooligan and a scoundrel, and he just lied a lot. He was an illusion. And I remember we were fighting way too many orcs because the person who was running it didn't have a great grasp of minions in 4th edition. So there was 100 orcs or something.
Yeah.
And
So
I
many
remember
orcs.
casting light because it was one of the last spells that I had on an orc shaman and bluffing, you'll die first. And then being chased by every single orc as he went, no, you will. And, had all of them chase after me. I was already bloody. I was already going to die. And so I was running around with my little wizard legs dying. But that's what the character would have done because he's like, I don't have anything to help other than to try bluffing. Oh shit, it worked. Oh no.
I didn't want it to work.
I do believe, and I'm not kidding, I think we blew them all up with a missile.
Yeah, I think it was something similar to that. Yeah. We had some sort of large device and we needed to
Get
corral
them out the
them.
door.
And so,
yeah.
So that all of them chasing me helped. Yeah, it was fun. But it's fun that way. And I mean, it can be a bad thing because a lot of people will say, well, it's just what my character would do. You know what you should do and should not do. Come on.
Yeah.
That's a good point to bring up when it comes to character. I have an eye twitch as a DM and also as a player in a party when someone says it's what my character would do. Because typically when I hear that phrase, it is justifying encroaching on everyone else's fun.
Yeah.
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 And
100% agree.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like if you have to explain that, like there is a person who would come to the other players first and say, so my character, I feel like they want to do this. That could potentially do all sorts of numbers of things to our play group and our campaign and everything. Is everybody okay with that? I really feel like this is the thing my character would do. I never feel okay. I don't want to say never, but I always have a problem with it being a after justification.
Right.
Like a spur of the moment everyone else has to deal with my shit kind of thing.
And then that's not me. That's just what my character's doing. It's like,
Yeah, but
I get it. Your character can get away from you sometimes, but if this is the 5th time you've said that, or if it's a response to someone saying, hey, you're upsetting my fun and I would appreciate if you didn't, I don't like that explanation because there is another thing to remember, and that's the separation of character and player at a table, because it can be very fun when you get into the muse moment, and I love having a character run away from me. I have a story about that. It was an NPC that became one of the first 5th edition character I ever played. But when you're at a table and there are everybody else around you as players, and you yourself being a player have your character, and you've built a character that is going to do something that's going to upset every other player or their flow or their ability to keep playing with their character consistently, I feel like that's something you need to look at and go, hey, I should curtail that, maybe. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
No, I definitely agree because I just not. Well, I'm using myself as an example. I can be quite particular. There are certain ways that I like playing. There are things that I'm just like, like sometimes your playstyle might not mesh with another person, and sometimes, unfortunately, you do not realize that your playstyle is not meshing until you are in a session in a game, and you're just like, "Wow, really? We're gonna do this? Okay." And you have an option. Like, you either bite your tongue or you buck against that, and then that can cause even more strife. So it's about that balance, right?
Mm-hmm. I had a game that I was running. It didn't last very long. It was like 2 sessions. And one of my players was playing a bard, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, I want to be like a superstar. Like I play really good music. People love me. I'm super attractive." Okay, yeah, cool character. We can work with that concept. Kind of be a rock star, and maybe in your own mind, maybe in the real world, but we'll see. And like first session, they're at the tavern, and like, "Oh yeah, I want to go hit on somebody," or like I want to be like walking by and like, "Hey, do you know me?" And so I like rolled and I was like, yeah, someone in the streets has heard your name before." "Okay, are they hot?" uh yeah, they're average. It's like it's an average person. Like, what's a okay? Well, I'm gonna try. And they just wanted to take it like immediately. Like, how far can I get with this person? And one is it, I don't know that what people want to do for relationships or a sexual theme, but also it's a complete sidetrack from the story, from all the other players, from everything that the game is about, for them to try and see just how popular their character can be on this one random person. And I was like, and after like I just had to basically say like, nope, they don't want to have anything to do with you. They're not interested you in a relationship or sexually. Just it there's nothing more.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
okay,
do
that
not
makes
get the
sense.
digits.
Okay, can I go see if there's anyone else? No, we're gonna move on to another thing. And and then we played one more time, and then it all disbanded. So
For a moment, I'm like, was it me? And I'm like, I don't play like that, because
no.
like I
You
definitely
did this to Denise.
no,
Yeah.
like
Tanitra,
'cause
when in session, no lie, on the prowl 24/7.
Mhm.
not necessarily. I'll ask if a character is hot. Like, yes, that is one of the first things out of my mouth when we meet an NPC that I think might be important. I'm like, oh, are they hot?
All
Yes.
the time in Michelle's game, you were trying to bang all the extra crew.
See,
Not necessarily on
was a siren.
purpose. Yeah, and also she was a siren. Like that's kind of
She
what
did
she
eat
did.
people. That was something.
Excuse.
I feel like that it's also, I'm not going to say easy to tell because everyone reads semantics differently, but you can usually tell when someone's doing it for giggles versus when someone's doing it as a self insert. And when it's a self insert is when it gets really uncomfortable to be around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because you
I
could be
like doing it
hee
for the
horny
giggles.
bard, and then you could also be no, but this is what I want, and you're like,
I wish
There's-
for the orc to
we don't.
take me down.
I didn't bring the Book of Erotic
Mhm.
Delights with me. We can't roll on that table right now.
Are you sure? I'm
Well, it's like
joking.
that-
I'm joking.
But
yeah, just-
And
just
fade
don't-
to
Charles, link in the
Yeah.
channel. No.
Yeah,
just-
I have to.
potions I found.
Just don't be too cringe. Like that,
I just
that's
have to say that it's the book of erotic fantasy.
Fantasy.
Okay?
You're right. My bad.
Oh,
Only there was a
3.5
5th edition
splat
version.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Very
when Dylan was
tasteful
still
pictures, though.
trying-
Yeah.
When he was still trying to find his like
Right,
feat
there for the
for his
articles.
alchemist character.
Mhm.
I was trying to find ways to make alchemy more interesting, and I found this homebrew book that was talking about like different like potion crafting mechanics and different things you could do with the potions, and like this massive list of different potions. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'd like maybe we'll incorporate this. It had some really in-depth ways to actually gather materials and add them to loot tables. It seemed pretty neat. Until I got to the date rate potions. And then I was like, all right,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's not so great. Let's
Yeah.
put that in the bin.
Mhm.
Oof.
Chuck it in the
$4.
bin.
Yep.
$4.95 on DM's Guild. Check it out.
Or, don't.
Yeah.
I will say, like, talking about class archetypes, artificers are a funny one, because they are definitely you have to know what they do and want to play a very specific thing, because artificers are very strong. much as people don't
Mhm.
think they are. They're just not strong at playing traditional 5e D&D.
Why would you say that?
The way that 5e is made, it's based around an 8 encounter system. Usually that means that things that are low to the ground get stronger as the day goes on because the people with the big nuke spells get weaker and weaker. Like warlocks, like artificers, like monks. Having short rests to refuel your gauges and do a bunch of things tends to be a good thing in that hypothetical scenario that no one does.
Yeah.
So there's
It's almost like you need to build your party based on, like, are we going to do short rests, like 8 encounters a day? Are we going to do like 1 or
Mhm.
2? And then you know how you're going to build your character. If you're going to be, we're going to do 1 or 2 encounters, then we're done. It's like, okay, don't pick a warlock, pick a wizard.
yeah.
I think that's almost a DM's, I wouldn't say job, but I'd put them more on the DM to recognize, okay, there's these 6 characters in the game. 3 of them are half-casters that recover on a short rest. The other 3 are sort of Nova Nuki kind of casters. Okay, I'll plan out the encounter so it can give everyone a chance to shine. Because I'm always of the opinion that you can always work around whatever the party's composition is. But at the same time, if the party wants to move their composition to sort of be rounded or serve a certain purpose, then hell yeah, accommodate that too. I just see it more as a DM responsibility to ensure they're having fun with what they build.
But we're not talking about DMs right now. We're talking about players and player characters, which leads me to flip that around. Hey, everybody here, what do you need to know about a game before you make your character?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I
You
need
can just
to
make a
know
character
the
scratch and
setting.
throw them in?
I mean, usually, yeah, like if I have an idea, as long as it's vague enough, I can mold afterwards to fit.
Okay.
Usually, like I'm just bored last week or so, just made like 3 or 4 characters. I'm like, okay, here's the skeleton. I can put the meat on it and shape the meat to be whatever I want, fitting however I want.
Mhm.
Like I
Wow.
said, God help the next person who gets my bard kit, the bard I made, because he is going to be me playing against, like, because usually I play, the serious common sense character. I'm playing he's a goblin bard. He is looking for trouble. He is looking to steal everything. He is looking to get away with it.
Well, it's going to be Billy and Michelle's new best friend.
Exactly. He is Julian Dios made it into 5e, and he is going to be drunk. He is going to be constantly trying to steal shit from people. He is going to be looking for all the illicit substances and doing them in public.
Sounds like a time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Denitra, you were going to say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I need information. I want more information about like the world itself. Like, just give me a give me a paragraph about your setting, and then I can come up with a character like who lives in this setting. Like, you don't have to tell me any story beats, but I don't know, because I wouldn't want to make a character that doesn't make sense for that world that the DM is trying to make. Like, I know some people really like the fly in the face of that, but that's not my play style. I would rather just have a fitting puzzle piece, and then we'll work with that.
I agree, same way. I like to know sort of what the story is, so that way I can fit my character into that world, and I think it makes the job for the person running it easier. They're like, okay, we're on this type of a course, that person falls in, I can put them into these positions of either problems, or their backstory plays into the world. Whereas if it's just like, oh, I just made, I decided I wanted to play Raiden, for Metal Gear Solid. Okay, that doesn't make what he's just. Oh yeah, he's like a ninja. We don't have ninjas in this world, right? Okay, so he's like a, yeah,
Cyborg ninja.
yeah. And it's like, okay, wait, you can't be part human, part warforged. Well, no, see, like, so my parents are like, it's special. Like, I had it, yeah, okay, sure, we can do that. And so I don't want to do that to a GM or whatever. So I like to know the story, fit something.
I think for me, I'd like to not so much I mean, maybe it's sort of the same thing, but not so much knowing the story or knowing like a little primer about the story, but at least having a passing understanding of the setting and a more than passing understanding of the rule system we're using. I almost certainly will not know all the rules by session 1 because I still forget rules for D&D, and I've been running this game for 2 years now, so that's going to be part of life. But it means that I can actually work with something to make a character that's not going to be ridiculous and out of place, but still is sort of like engaging to build. I also think it's important to know what the other people in the party are building.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like to fit in and be like, oh, I need to. We're missing a healer, so I'll make a healer. But to know how they built their characters, so I don't make something which is absolutely fucking busted compared to everyone else, or vice versa, make something completely underpowered and I'm not going to have any fun doing anything. Need to be able to ensure that you're matching the rest of the party into their own character design.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. Matching parties can be super important as well.
I know, Charles, you refuse to pick your class until you know what the party comp is usually.
Yep. Because even though you don't need a healer in most games, it would be nice if someone would do it. And I usually just fill in the blank because once again, I'm just playing. I'm just enjoying playing. So if they're like, I think Michelle's game, in fact, everybody had picked, I forget what I was going to pick, but someone else picked it. And I was like, okay, cleric, I can make that work. And then from that, I went, okay,
Came
why
your
are they
angry little Klingon.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he's the closest thing to a Klingon I've had because he was a Triton. He was very for Poseidon, somewhat, kind of.
Sometimes.
Most of the time, but not when things got difficult. But yeah, it's just I want to fill in that blank because I don't care what class I play. Like I'm usually just trying to play anything. Because if given my own choice, I would just play a monk and that's it. Period. So I'm gonna pick other random things.
Really like the monk, huh?
Yeah, if
God, I
they were
remember
any
4E.
good in 5th edition. Yeah.
There are some
Eh.
monks that are good, fine.
Yeah. There are some. Yeah, looking forward to one D&D's version of monk so I can yell at it too.
I still have not played a monk, and I love monks. The monk, the fist fighty archetype, and everything pretty much.
I think the main problem that happens in 5e is if you have a monk that doesn't have bracers of defense, you're basically just going to get clobbered by everything.
Yeah.
That right there is me playing against type. Me not playing a monk is me playing against type.
Yeah.
I want to go back to our core topic of playing against type. Does anybody have, because you said Alastor was yours, Charles, does anybody else have a character that they locked in? Because, I mean, I would honestly say that Alastor is your type of character, but you ended up playing him against your type. You played him as someone who thought he knew more than he did, as opposed to usually you're the character who actually knows a lot.
Yeah, he was very much fake it until you make it.
This is my sword. I made it with magic.
Right. He was in a place where magic couldn't work and he went a little crazy and someone gave him a sword and he went, you see that? I made that. That was me. So yeah, he was not having a great time, but I don't know. It's really fun to look for the characters who have a big flaw, like in World of Darkness being the getaway driver who had pride, who wanted to be chased by the cop and wanted to give him a good run and then dust him. Yeah, like that's fun.
It was a good game.
Yeah, that was fun.
Sorry, I'm like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
That
yeah.
wistful-
there were
that
some things
wistful
I didn't
look, yeah,
like,
Philip,
but that
like,
was a good game.
Yeah, that's Mage. One day we'll play it again.
The stuff I didn't like wasn't your fault, Philip.
Good to know.
We had a murder hobo in that game, so
Absolutely.
Yes. And everything
Literally.
I did to try and rein them in just made them, fight even harder.
Because that's the character that they wanted to bring. Exactly the character that they wanted to bring.
yeah.
And you speaking against, playing against type, like when we recommended other things, Like,
Yeah.
hey, what about if we try this? Or, well, okay, I understand that your character is an assassin, or
Yeah.
not assassin. He was a hitman, I think. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, you can still be a hitman, but hitmen don't just shoot random homeless people on the
Homeless
street.
people, yeah.
And then it was like, well, but that's what my character would do, because this
Uh-huh.
You
person like
can if
asked
you're
them for $1.
Kuklinski.
Yeah.
Bringing
Yeah.
it back to the previous topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, okay, hold on. Okay, we see that. This is the consequence. Your character would know this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, they don't care about the consequences. It's like, well, then how did they get a name for themselves? How did they become this thing? Like, you're doing all these things that would get you caught immediately.
How are they good at
yet
their
you said
job
you
if they
haven't.
act so bad at their job?
Exactly. It was like, well, and tried to explain this, like, character-wise, here's what would happen. Your character knows this. They've been in this world. And it essentially just broke down to, well, but I think it's fun. So that's what I want my character to do. It's like, okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's
But
like, just
that
be
was-
honest. Shit.
Exactly.
And that's
And that
another
was their
thing,
character
like,
type.
yeah, it's like if you're going to actually just roll up and be like, all right, I want to play a murder hobo, tell your DM. They might be cool with it. Or at the very
Yeah.
least, prepare them for it, because
Yeah.
that's another thing. Whenever you're playing a character, it's always nice to actually, get buy-in from the person who's running the game you're playing the character in. Run things by them, give them backstory, or ask them for like a world doc. Oh my god, the game that I play in on Tuesday is going to transfer over into I think it's called Iron Empire L5R game. That is L5R with space, and they're going to be using battle. Oh god, what the heck's the name of the Lancer mod for space combat?
Battle group.
Battle group. They're going to use battle group as the big battles for it.
So it's like ancient Asian combat, like history in space now?
Like informed
space?
mentality of feudal Japan / Roku. It's called Rokugan. It's like a fusion of China and Korea and Japan. But it's that in space. But he gave us what is essentially a design document. And so I have so many different things I can look through and choose from, and then come back to him and say, okay, what if I played this and I used this backstory element from this timeline that you gave us? Here's the part in history that my family is concerned with and how it affected them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's mostly just me vamping on saying that's insane. I would never do that much prep. But also, it's like if your DM is doing a lot of prep, it's always nice to, when you make a character, to build something that builds into that.
Right. When I was getting ready to start Splendors of Faith, I saw who wanted to play, and I was like, hey, this is a dungeon crawler. Like, we are going to go from one dungeon to the next to do a thing to fight a big bad evil. Like, is everybody cool with that? Is that what people want to play? And, so that way people knew, like, okay, this is what I'm getting involved with. I know what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of combat. The social skills may be less. Like, oh, I want to be a murder hobo. Well, as long as you want to kill the bad guys, that's okay. But, it's sort of, it kind of, I don't want to say locks you into a character, but it helps people know, like, oh, this is the type I want to play. We're going to be good guys. I need to sort of fall into this type, this
It
archetype.
sets expectations.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, good example.
And I think that it setting expectations is a two-way street. We talked about it, I think, a little bit in the DM one last week, but you should also set expectations as a player for the other players at your table and the DM. It's like, hey, I'm going to be a ball of chaos, and I'm going to bounce around, and sometimes I'm going to set things on fire. I hope that's okay. Is everybody cool with that? If it's not, we can talk. I can figure it out. Like, it's good to set a starting point of, like, here's where I think this character is, right?
100% agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth remembering, and I think worth saying, that the players are still playing the game. And that might sound really obvious, but it's time for me to get
It's
on my
not
soapbox.
sometimes. Okay, here we go.
There's such thing as good players when it comes to working with your DM and working with the players, but like being open about all the things you want to do, like being flexible and realizing, oh, hey, the DM's maybe made a mistake here. I'm not going to grill them on it. I'm not going to go, ha ha, this is wrong. I'm going to work that into what I'm currently doing. I'm going to support the other players and give them offers to do things to make them feel good. I'm not going to put it all on the DM to run the game. We are collectively playing a game together. It is important to play with each other, not just have player team versus the DM team. Dungeons and Dragons and most role-playing games, unless you've set it out to be a competitive experience, is not a competitive experience.
Mm-hmm.
There certainly are competitive variants. Like I think there's like those, I don't remember what they're called. There's the adventurers guilds that have the races, like how fast can you clear a dungeon sort of thing. Like that's a really cool idea. Not something that I would probably ever run, but it's a cool idea.
I think that's like OG Adventurers League. It's not as much that anymore, but they definitely did have those competitions back in the day for like the D&D Adventurers League.
Yeah, I think Rogue put it really well of it being the sort of the unwritten social contract between the players and the DM, where the DM has gone out of their way to provide something and to build something, to present something. As players, if you go into it and then turn around and go, actually, I'm not going to do this thing that we can see you've built, we're going to go fuck off and do something else, kind of sucks. It can derail the experience quite a bit. Some DMs are prepared for that and encourage that, but not everyone does. Some people have spent hours building an encounter and want that encounter to actually happen. Good example, going back to last time we spoke, Philip's level 10 extravaganza, where the big bad got hit in the head with a knife and died.
That's your fault, Charles. I was just rolling for you.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
But that is an example of what I would say is good play etiquette, because the players were like, oh, well, let's keep going. Let's just bring them back, give them some more health, and carry on the encounter. We want to see what you've done and what you've built. That is my soapbox talk of it's a two-way street. Players need to support their DMs just like DMs need to support their players.
Yeah. It's collaborative storytelling, and it's not the DM story, nor is it the players. It's both.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like you said, we're playing together. Let's play together.
I think that's actually
Let's
a lesson that... Oh, sorry, I interrupted you with latency. I think it was a lesson I learned from playing Shadowrun on this BBS server we went to. There were a number of players that definitely had the mentality of, I'm the best, I'm the greatest ever, I'm going to beat other players, or I'm going to beat the DM or whatever they're doing. And it's so often just descended into slap fights, because at the end of the day, the DM can just pull something out of their ass and go, actually, no, that doesn't work. And then they get upset and it turns into a fight. Like, don't fight each other. Like, work together. It's really not that hard.
I agree.
Yeah, the people who see that like the fight is meant to be a challenge most of the times, if that's the story. But I guess some people just want to see that as the challenge. The DM is trying to stop them from doing something, and so that makes them the adversary. And they're like, well, the only thing holding me back from winning is him controlling the monster and rolling and everything. So I have to fight with everything. And I don't know. I think that's what leads to that sort of like, they want to be better. They want to be the best so that they know they'll get through it, not realizing that it's like, well, if you have a good DM, you're probably going to get through it anyways, unless something really bad, like, catastrophic dice rolls. And even then it may still be like, oh, the bad guy got catastrophic dice rolls as well.
I think it's much less of a problem in group play, like what we do, but in public play or tournament play or competition play, whatever you want to call it, convention play, that's the one. Occasionally you'll get the odd player has the mentality of, I know this game better than anyone else. I need to prove how good of a player I am. So I'm going to make the absolute munchkiniest busted thing possible, and I'm going to kill everything, and I'm going to be the best. And then if something happens that they don't expect, they throw a hissy fit.
I want to pull that back into playing type and against type, because in Dungeons and Dragons, The way that Dungeons & Dragons is constructed, when you play at type, you play it the most maximized possible way. You get sharpshooter if you're ranged. You get great weapon fighter if you have advantage that you can grant yourself when you're melee. You're supposed to pick certain things, choose certain features and abilities, and make it so that you're the best at fighting you possibly can be, because all of the mechanics, save for skill rolls, in Dungeons & Dragons, and even then very rarely when it comes to leveling a character, have to do with fighting. There are a few thrown in face abilities, but I heard someone say this once, and it's very much something that I try to remember as a DM, but also as a player, is that most of the, like almost 90% of your toolkit as a player in most games is geared towards killing monsters.
Yes.
So with that in mind, I always try to build my character so that they can do interesting things in combat rather than effective things. And that's one of the ways that I try to play against type, is I try to play, for example, Anton, there was a version of Z that was a fighter gloomstalker.
I think I remember you mentioning it early on, actually.
And I looked at that and I said, okay, I could have 5 attacks on the first turn. No, sorry, 6.
Oh, wow.
Because Gloomstalker gets an extra attack, I can use my Constitution score to do another Echo Knight hit, because I was potentially going to go Echo Knight, Philip.
Oh, okay.
And so I would have just rolled up and, like an assassin does, murder someone. Just murder them into the ground.
You give Veracio a run for her money.
But I looked at that, and I thought about that, and the first thing I thought was, I'm new to this group, and Anton probably doesn't know how to balance for me right now. So I could come into this group with my murder 6 attack fight ranger who's invisible in low light, or who's invisible in dark vision, and be an absolute badass at fighting and doing whatever I do there. And that is mechanically a strong thing to do. Or I can be fun and have skills and have little psionic powers that are kind of neat and flavorful, and just not be that crazily effective. I know the game well enough. I know how to make a character that can stand.
Right.
And
go ahead.
Please cut me off. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that moment that murdered Philip's NPC that I wasn't even there for, but I definitely made that character, was like,
it's I will say, just for anybody at home, it's not anybody's fault. When you crit on Steelwind Strike, things die. That's just how it happens. 12d10 is a nasty number of dice to roll.
That character was made to do that, but not really, because there was no way that it was ever going to be, and that's not even the maximum damage that could happen. It's a crazy daredevil character that if they get hit, they hit harder when they get back. It's a whole crazy thing. But that was the whole character. That is the only thing that they had that was like that. Other than that, they were very much protection. They're an aberration wizard. That was their one attack. But that one attack can ruin things, like James said. It happens. It does. Even when you're not there to see
for
it.
you. Yeah. On a great roll for you caused a problem, sort of. For me.
I think I dealt 78 damage, and I think the thing had in the stat block 75 health. But yeah, so Charles, you made a character that was able to do that, but that wasn't the point of the character. You made a character who's supposed to be fun and zany. And honestly, pound for pound, Steelwind Strike is a bad spell to take as well.
Oh yeah, it's really bad. Horrible.
If you are against exactly 5 opponents, it's the best spell you can cast. Anything other than that, you should just be upcasting Fireball.
It was a dumb, I want to see this spell work. And that's how I make a lot of characters. I want to see this thing work. The bard that I'm playing in Philip's game now creates things just because I was like, this would be fun to play around with Philip as the DM, because I know that as long as it's allowed to be made, I can make it. Even if it's a dumb idea, he's going to let me do it. I'm going to make a horse and it's going to get hit once.
Yeah,
and
die. Middle of combat.
Yeah. So that is bringing like a concept to the table. You know, like seeing something in a class that you're like, I want to do it. I don't care how stupid that is, and then making a character around it.
I think that's definitely a thing. Hey, Aaron, I want to pick your brain for a second. When it came to this topic, were you thinking more from the line of playing against the archetype of a class?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
have you made a character that you really enjoyed that did that?
I mean, I just was thinking about this the other day. Like, somebody was mentioning like the just the stereotype of like rogues are all broody, thieves and murderers. Paladins are all Labradors with shields and a god complex. Druids are all crunchy hippies. Like, it's like, oh, what would be fun, interesting ways to play away from that, like stuff like that. That was the original pitch in my head. Like, oh, what would be kind of fun ways to venture off the beaten path of like the paladin archetype or the scholarly wizard. All wizards are fucking book nerds, and they spilled ink on my robe. Oh no!
I'm suddenly reminded of our goblin cleric tax collectors.
Exactly. Anton and I had an idea. We were just going to join a random West March Discord server and play a goblin cleric and a goblin paladin who were like their patron was like the god of money or something like that. So they pretty much just ran around and shook people down for money for collections. They were the goblin tax enforcers, pretty much.
Wow.
Lazy is for their money, yeah.
Well, do we want to do rapid fire or not? Do we want to do pick a class and think of workshop some ways to play against types on them?
Sure, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start. Let's go with rogue. All rogues are sneaky, steely, steal, stabby, stabs. But when you look at, and this is all for D&D currently, but this is applicable to most things. If you break down the rogue's greatest feature besides their backstab is their expertise. Expertise can be applied to any skill on your skill sheet, or also, well, you can't do it to any tool, but you can do it to other your tool proficiencies and things like that too. It's worth remembering that there's some really fun stuff you can do. You can be an Indiana Jones style rogue who has history expertise and is able to, and has a high int score. I think the most criminal thing that I remember for wizards is that wizards are always worse than a bard or a rogue at an int stat. Hands down. There was one UA wizard that did it. It was the strongest wizard they ever fucking created. And they immediately were... it was, I think it was Lore Wizard.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was busted. It could change the magic types of the spells it casted. It got expertise in every skill. But the idea that as a bard or as a rogue, you have available to you the ability to be better than any other class at 2 to 4 skills is something that people shouldn't just look at and go, oh, stealth. It's like, well, okay, you can do that. Or you can be just really good at talking to people, or really good at just looking at someone and being able to shake them down in your mind like, I know exactly the kind of person you are.
So I just want to add to that. There is a rogue subclass that no one plays. I want to play it as my next character I make. Mastermind. I feel like that does already go against the rogue archetype. It is purely a social character. It is there to manipulate other people and to get them to do its bidding. That's a really cool idea.
Honestly, bonus action help at 30 feet is... People sleep on it and they shouldn't.
Oh, fucking so many people, myself included in Philip's game, have to get like find familiar to basically do the same thing, to get the dumb bird to fly in.
I kill from I am a DM who will kill your familiar. I do not care.
Oh my god, James.
People being like, I took a spell to get advantage. Really? You took a creature that I'm going to murder in front of you.
That's
Oh
fine.
my god, James.
You can just resummon them. All it takes is some incense.
Still.
Yeah, exactly. You're allowed to do that. Exactly so. So when I see an owl flying at me, the guy with the crossbow is going to go, how many HP you got? Thunk.
And that's the counterplay of it.
especially if they're
God.
smart.
Oh my God. Jesus
I was-
Christ.
I see it too
Cost-
much. I'm sorry. Everybody who's just like, well, I can have a familiar. First off, find familiar is such a fun dang spell, and everybody just uses it for combat advantage. That's what irks me.
Mm.
If you have a little familiar buddy, I want to see you going out there like fucking Caleb Widowgast and having a cat because you miss your cat. That's the whole point. He misses his cat. So he made his familiar his cat. And it makes me want to cry just thinking about it.
And then you're targeting these.
Matt had a guy
Beloved-
kick him into dust.
Yeah, but he just make him again. Like that's
Exactly,
that's
and he
it.
does.
That's
He-
perfect.
It's
for
still
every
gonna
pet.
hurt though. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
he doesn't have to worry about it dying anymore. He's like, I made a forever pet. He
That
made,
was the exact point.
What was that dumb? It was a dumb YouTube poop thing. It was like a comedy thing. Forever Dog. If you've never seen it,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like Immortal Dog. Sorry, Immortal Dog.
Immortal Dog. Yeah.
Yeah,
cut
it's
off
like-
his
it's-
feet.
Yeah, turn the feet into a gel, make him drink it. He won't want to drink it. Yeah. he won't trust you anymore. It's so dumb. I love
I
it though.
hate this.
It's like a 2-minute.
You
YouTube
haven't
thing
seen
if
it,
you
Jake?
get
No.
a chance.
Is
Yeah,
this
I'll
like
let
this,
it-
the extreme energy stuff?
Kind of.
basically.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same energy.
Power
as
thirst.
Power Thirst.
Yeah, power thirst. Oh god.
Yeah, but yeah, it's dumb. It's 2 minutes. That's exactly what I think of. It's like he had a trauma. He's like, like the only thing I can pretty much get back of my old life is to magically recreate my pet, and now I'll never have to worry about it dying again, as long as I have 50 gold worth of incense.
Which honestly, you shouldn't be breathing that much incense. It can't be good for you.
It's worth it to get the cat back.
James, you were saying playing against types. So I was thinking if you had like a rogue that was, like you said, focused on like nature and survival checks, maybe perception, and you turned them into essentially a druid. They were a person that was like, they would, in my head, I see them like shifting from like tree to tree, like sort of like stealthing, and they would just be there. And so when you entered into their forest, when you were messing with their stuff, they would follow you and they would know all these things about where they are.
Woodsy
and you
Batman.
could still play. Yeah, a woodsy Batman. You still have your damage if that's what is needed.
And
but
I'll-
you wouldn't be focused.
I'll give you one better for that, Philip. That's the scout rogue.
Mhm.
That exists.
Yep,
You
there's the
get
scout.
free expertise in nature and survival
Yep.
on top of your other rogue expertises. And that's
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you wanted to pick that specific type, but you could
Mhm.
still do other things. I mean, I guess you could do mastermind and ask your DM if it'll work on animals, right? Like
Yeah.
be Snow White or whoever has magical animals they want to talk to in the woods.
yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I think the least played rogue subclass is probably, other than mastermind, is probably thief. The one that is the rogue, people don't play because
I
it's not the damage or the psychic blades or the swashbuckling.
the
Not cool.
so the problem is that they never figured out what second story work should do.
Yes.
But also because they said fast hands does the main thing that makes people not want to play a thief, I think, is people look at fast hands and they go, oh, I can use a wand as a bonus action, and then they say that's use magic, that's not use item.
Yep.
And so then you get into this giant, but fast hands is cool. Nothing cooler than walking up, stabbing an enemy cleric, and then stealing their holy symbol with fast hands.
Yeah. I mean,
People don't
and
think
there's so
about
many
that.
things.
You need shit to cast your shit, and if the rogue can come up, mess you up, and then take away your focus.
I mean, I saw a sapper rogue that was built with thief because they could climb trees, but they can also fast hands hunting traps and caltrops and a climber's kit and alchemist fire and acid, and it's like you could do some crazy things.
You literally are Batman. Thief rogues
Yeah.
are Batman.
So yeah, you could use thief for a lot of things, and then you're sneaking and you're using magical devices eventually,
Worse
and,
than
like,
it used to be, sadly.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And the capstone, like, it takes you till 17 to get it, but like I think you can use 2 items
get-
instead of 1.
No, the capstone is you
You
get
just
2
another
turns in the
turn.
first turn
That's
of
right.
combat.
That's right.
It's a ridiculous capstone.
It's Batman with prep time.
Exactly.
He's got 2 turns at the beginning of combat.
Rolled twice, you get both of them.
Hmm.
But no, I think that something that gets forgot with rogues is that you don't just have to be a stabby boy, even though you can be. Like, you can flavor that so many different ways. Everybody sees finesse weapon and they just go, ah, well, knife. There's other finesse weapons. You can argue for a blackjack or something. A rapier.
Yeah, rapiers, of course.
A lot of people like rapier, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's because they look cool.
Yeah.
I know.
And you can also
And they
just
do more
flavor.
damage.
Like, you could say it's a knife, but you could flavor it as something else. You keep it low damage because you say, like, oh, it's a sword, but I'm only hitting like flicks with it, so I can't cut very deep.
It's
so
a hidden
only
blade.
Yeah, hidden blade, or it's
Like
push
Assassin's
knife.
Creed hidden.
Ezio push knife, yeah.
or you could be like if you had like weighted sleeves, and so you're punching when you punch, the weighted sleeve hits, and that's where the D4 of damage rather than a D3, right? Like you could flavor it any way and still keep it the rules of having a D4 light weapon.
I've always thought of a dwarf with, hammers that are small, so that they were small enough to be finesse weapons, but you're dual wielding hammers,
Like carpentry hammers, like actual,
like those
tiny-
size, yeah.
I thought about like the Hammer Brothers and Mario.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Nah,
that.
those hammers are still too big. The face is too big. Yeah, if you want a finesse hammer, it's literally going to be like a carpenter's hammer or like a finishing
A ball
hammer.
peen.
Yeah,
Yeah, a ball peen hammer.
that's a finesse hammer.
Yeah, just imagine running into a guy throwing those at you.
Yeah, exactly.
I just hated that sentence of finesse hammer.
Mhm.
That's hilarious though. Actually, just the throwing hammers thing, because forever ago, back in high school, we were playing Rifts, and my character was like a magic blacksmith, pretty much, and he carried like all of his smithing tools like on his belt. And there was a fight where he pulled one of his finishing hammers and wung it at a guy and hit him in the back of the head. But since they were magic, they did like magic damage. So the guy didn't have his helmet on and just went, just like literally caved the side of his head in, pretty much.
Ooh, holy shit!
That's
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean-
kind of murder that's at the front of an NCIS episode.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if a scimitar could be a finesse weapon, some sort of little war pick could be as well. Just saying.
Yeah, that's fair. So that's talking about Rogue. Does anybody else have one that they like to play, but not the way that most people play it?
I had a lot of fun playing Stealth Paladin.
Stealth
Paladin.
Go on.
Yeah, so I didn't play this game for long. I was at my previous job, and we had a couple of people there that were keen to play D&D. One of them wanted to run it, so we all got together, made some characters, played it for a bit. Did have the risky thing of, you're doing it with workmates, and some people are more inclined to certain things than others. There was definitely a couple of people that were a little bit too keen on being the main character, I suppose, which is fine. Another topic. But what I decided to do was make a wood elf paladin, and I was like, I want to try and make them a sneaky paladin. So I asked the DM if I could have lighter armor rather than the starting gear, and they used rapier, finesse weapon, specializing in sneaking, and just basically eventually I think I did subclass into rogue later on just to try and get the hiding on a bonus action sort of thing.
The extra feat, because let me tell you, rogue subclassing, you don't notice that feat until you get it, and then you do.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But the kind of like archetype behind them, well, not archetype, the idea behind them was very similar to what was mentioned before about the scout being like the rogue of the forest. They were following a forest god. They needed to blend in and smite those who would harm the trees. You don't do that by running at someone. You do that by chanking them outside the back of the train station with a rapier.
Yeah.
I have particular feelings for paladins when it comes to playing a type for them. Go ahead.
No, finish your statement. Sorry.
I was going to say, I'm not going to divest myself of my manifesto tonight, but the short answer is paladin is the wrong word for it now. It should be called a paragon. And the way that I like to play paladin off type is, rather than looking anywhere near lawful good, is you try to look at what you can make as your credo and play into that really hard. There's some great alt paladins that exist, not just the anti-paladin or Oathbreaker, but the Oath of Conquest is a very interesting, nuanced version of lawful, neutral, or evil that plays in very well to the idea of, listen, people are idiots, and if I don't stop these people from being idiots in an aggressive way, they're going to hurt someone. And that's still me doing good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the
Makes sense.
perceived good, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, it's like, well, like, I can't, like, humanity can't be trusted. They need to be they need somebody to grab them by the top of their head and face them the right way. And if I twist a little too hard, it's because you were resisting.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to play a paladin off type, is to basically be the paladin that is not full of yourself. You're Judge Dredd. You're like, here's the law, here's the rules, you broke them, and now I'm going to shoot you in the face.
Yes. I like the ones where you get when you have a paladin who is, playing lawful good, and then you run into an encounter where the city has a law that is not good. And so then it's like, well, what do you do? Which do you follow? Which of the two is your primary goal? Do you go, so I think that is always a cool idea.
Yeah. But I do like just the idea of a paladin who is looking out for the most effective thing rather than the most righteous one. Because I think that's an interesting way to skew a paladin off of the typical way that it works. Because usually the paladin's going to go for the thing that looks the most right. But a paladin who goes for the thing that is the most effectively correct, despite how it looks and despite how it makes them look, that's an interesting character to me. And I think that's a fun way to play it differently.
Just to throw something on top, but if I ever play a paladin, I think I want to. So I've been watching a lot of One Piece lately. So there's like a character who's on the side of the law that I would probably try to make a paladin more like. I mean, Cassis will know this character. Aokiji Kuzan, the ice marine. Yeah, like I want to play a paladin like that. Yeah, just like, oh, I see that there's some crime going on over there, but it's not like bad crime. Why should I go and smite that guy for stealing bread?
Yeah, there's three in One Piece has the three themes of justice that get represented, where there's like extreme justice or absolute justice, which is like you have to follow the law. If you don't follow the law, you're an enemy of the world. You're an enemy of the Marines. You're an enemy of the world government. Then there's neutral law, where it's like, well, you have to look for the greater good, and sometimes you have to bend the rules for the greater good. And then there's like completely hands-off justice, which is like, well, as long as they're not doing anything immediately bad, then I can just let them go.
Yeah.
And there are characters, Marine characters, that will constantly be in one of the three camps. And like a lot of times, the two of those are okay. And then the third one is they're usually the dickhead characters.
Yeah.
That represent what people would call antagonists in other shows.
Yeah.
Where the other ones are like, okay, like, yeah, that character's all right. They're pretty cool. Or they shift. Like Denitra will probably know Smoker. Smoker was a dickhead for a while, and then he kind of saw things happening, and he kind of his polarity shifted. Now he's just like, certain things you gotta let slip to get the greatest bang for your buck.
I'm still gonna kick your ass, though.
Yes, I am gonna slap you in the neck with this big metal fucking pole.
What is happening?
He's got, I don't know what they're called. I think they're usually smaller. They were a Japanese defense tool. I think they're called like Jitai or something like that.
Jitai.
Yeah, his is like big claymore size.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and he hits people like specifically in the neck with it and like pins them to the ground by it.
And it's made out of sea prism stone.
Okay.
So it works on anybody who's got special powers.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
But I mean, you could watch One Piece with me.
Yeah, I could, but I'm not gonna. But I've seen other paladins, because like if you go back to like 3.5 and you go back to they follow a god instead of they have an oath, that just gives you can have a paladin of every god, and there's some gods where you're like, what does that even mean? Like a god like Danir, which was the god of intelligence and like book knowledge. What's a paladin of that?
A librarian.
Yeah, a battle librarian. Like, that's fun.
That is fun, actually.
How dare you mislabel these books?
And
You shall.
It's
be
the
smoked.
Dewey Decimal System for a reason. Oh, holy God, fill my hand with your righteous fury.
someone who
Smites
protects
you by
people
hitting you
who
with
are
a
seeking
book.
knowledge. You know, like that sort of person. Like there's so many ways to go paladin and be zealous about something.
Yeah,
Everything.
exactly. It's all about picking your portfolio and sticking with it, because paladins are nothing if not tiny gods constrained to rules.
Exactly.
So we have paladin, we have rogue. Does
Mm.
anybody else have something that they like to play off type?
I need to take a phone call. So give me a minute.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
I was
Go.
No,
I
go
was
ahead,
thinking
Phil.
of an off type. I was thinking of like a warlock, but they're always focused. Like I've always seen them played as that like edge lord, edgy. You know, like oh, I'm so misunderstood, and there's this demon whispering in my ear.
Mhm.
But I had an idea of playing one that had sort of like a more like nature, maybe celestial type god, and they were an archer. So
Mhm.
their primary attack, while it looks like a bow, it's actually, you know,
They'll just
their
blast.
yeah, it's that. And so it's just being quote unquote focused through a bow.
Mhm.
Their god granted them this bow, and it allows them to shoot forever arrows, and those arrows are the Eldritch Blast.
And that's another thing that they've actually done a really good job of making paladins, warlocks. Move, we changed.
Mhm.
Warlocks are just stinky paladins these days, and I don't like it. They should have been an int class.
Yes.
But warlock's ability to, and you played Celestial Warlock, I believe, in the Eberron game that I ran.
Yep. He
Which-
thought he was an angel.
Which what a way to play off type. It's such a fun thing to do. I've seen this happen before where, and this is actually something that there is precedent for, I believe, where there are people who play Celestial Warlocks thinking they're clerics.
He
Yeah.
said he was an angel doing similar to not. I mean, he didn't think he was a cleric, but yeah, he thought he was an angel and was doing the holy work, so he could make fake wings and he could heal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But like I've seen people even play that archetype where they're like, I'm a cleric, but their stat block is a warlock, and so they have 2 spells and maybe some change, and that's what they get. And they're sitting there fighting for their lives to have everybody else at the table not go, let me see your character sheet.
In Anton's game, I'm a quote unquote paladin, but instead what I made is a fighter and cleric. So I have some of both. So
Mhm.
that's how I'm an Echo Knight in that game, even though my character is from a order of paladins, and that's what he would call himself.
Yeah, you're Zakarum, right?
Yes. One of the exiles, yeah.
And interest, like something that just popped in my head that I think would be really fun for a warlock is usually like you get your powers from the warlock. Usually the warlock is the one with the power. I think it would be fun to switch a warlock archetype where it's like a lesser god that was going to like poof out of existence has like latched onto you and is like pretty much begging you to like champion them almost. Like, please, like I'll poof out of existence. So you're pretty much like you are the one that has like the power in the relationship, as it were. Like
Mhm.
I have something very interesting that I have actually fixed with or set into system for Warlock as a patron in a homebrew game that I made. The way that being a paladin, or sorry, god damn it, brain. The way
no,
that
you
being,
love paladins. We know you love paladins,
I
James.
just love them so much. The
Paladins.
way that Warlock patrons worked in that game is they could grant as many levels as they wanted to the person who they were the patron of, with the understanding that most Warlock patrons are pretty low to the ground, and the minute that they grant them more power than they have, they risk getting sucked into that person.
Oh, that's interesting. I
Because
like
if
that
the
idea.
power balance goes off kilter and they're no longer the stronger one,
They just get absorbed pretty much.
They basically just have their power absorbed into the person who they are patron of.
Is that I forgot, I'm not sure if this is even a D&D thing, but it's like like a magical counterbalancing where it's like the greater force will always absorb the smaller or like override it.
It's kind of a rule of nature kind of thing.
Yeah. So that kind of makes sense in that regard, where it's like, oh, well, if like there's a power balance between these two, and all of a sudden your jar is filled up a little higher than the smaller jar just goes. It's like siphoning gas out of a car.
Yeah, and so in that setting, being a warlock is more of a subclass, more or less, because it's very hard to start as one in it. But the idea being that your warlock patron can grant you levels basically at whim, but they won't because they have full knowledge of the minute this person is stronger than me, I'm in trouble. They might not know that, but I know that. So I need to be very careful and very finicky. And that's why warlocks have so few spell slots, because the patron's like, you need to chill. And I mean, that's one way of playing off type, but it's like playing it from the DM side off type. And that's something else to consider too, is that as a DM, you can set fun rules. Don't set crazy restrictive rules for your players on their player class. And if you do, tell them beforehand.
We're going to do crazy new terrifying rules, and we're also going to be doing, what is it, the homebrew hardcore rules, where a short rest is 8 hours.
Fuck. Ooh. You recover 1 hit point a day.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's AD&D.
See, I would
That's AD&D.
like, that doesn't sound fun.
Downtime's a real thing.
If people want to, like, it comes back to knowing what your players want to do. Like, if your players want to do, like, there is a variant of D&D which is like that. Like, a long rest is 7 days, and a short rest is 8 hours, and it's more about resource management. But not everyone wants to play that, you know.
Yeah, like that doesn't tickle my fancy.
And I think there are games that are designed that way, which D&D is not. It's an optional rule. It's like you could kind of play it this way, but it's at that point you should probably try and find that game that is very hardcore, very focused on resource management, on time and progression like that. But
Fallout 2D20 coming back again, I see.
Need you to chill. I do want to point out, Mark Songs wrote in the chat something that, Charles, I think you would enjoy. He likes playing wizards off type, but rarely gets to. Wizards, the way that I see them, are supposed to be more interested in esoteric things rather than running around with adventurers. So to me, wizards would just hire adventurers or someone else, but only rarely get directly involved in any conflicts.
Yeah, I think that is great. Yeah,
it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, to be a wizard adventurer, you're like actively researching, which is kind of fun, or it can be. But yeah, wizards are like the quintessential quest givers, you know. They always have a reason to send some idiots out to go get something. Always. But like, you could play that in a party, you know what I mean? You could, with your DM, go, okay, look, I found this job, and I am the one who's trying to get these people to do it. And then you get dragged along or something like that. Or you're just there.
I kind of did that with your game when I played Ostrowo.
Yeah.
I had a thesis I was out to prove, and that was that all magic is actually fire magic down at its core.
It's provable, yeah.
The manipulation of tiny explosions and chemical reactions in the air affect every form of wizardry, and that's the only thing that you're actually ever doing. That was his
shield
thesis.
Is just counter explosions. Yeah.
Shield is just a barrier set off by making repulsing explosions, constantly forcing outward.
I saw somewhere on the internet, I can't remember where, but they had said that with wizards, they learn spells by like research and knowledge, and that's what the whole idea behind like a wizard's academy is. And yet you have all of these players who play wizards, like level 1, they go out, they get into fights. And it's like, if that was the case, wouldn't wizarding school be like, welcome to class, grab a sword, we're going to go into the forest and start murdering stuff? And that's never what wizard school is. It's always just books. So it's like, how can,
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and that's something else that I think that's kind of a failing of 5e, right? And I think Matt Colville has talked to that in one of his things, is like, You want to get better at something? Kill goblins. You want to get better at weaving? Kill goblins. You want to get better at being able to cast magical spells or talk to your patron better? Kill some goblins. You don't have to do it with your spells or anything. You just need to kill goblins.
You just get a knife and start stabbing.
Yeah, right?
Go.
Goblin, the stabbing.
Goblin the stabbing.
I'm so proud of me for that. I'm not going to lie.
And then you thought we wouldn't fucking take the bait.
Very dumb boy oversight on my part to make a fake White Wolf game nested inside of Teens with Attitude and expect you all not to be like, well, now I want to play that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We just start a second campaign where we're just the teens
Stabbing
playing,
goblins?
stabbing
Goblins.
No, it's not the
Section of
goblins
the-
that you're stabbing. It's that as a
We are the
goblin,
goblins.
you have a need to feed your knife with flesh.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
How could I forget?
It's the
Seems
hunger,
about
but
right.
with stabs.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know why I was able to just make that up on the fly, but I definitely did.
James, you need to tell us something. You need to like confess.
Yeah? What? Do I?
Do you?
Are you a goblin?
Do you? Do you need? Do you
Hey.
feel the need to stab sometimes?
I don't.
Do you have an
know what you're
unquenchable
talking-
need to feed your knife
I-
with flesh?
I certainly don't. I am a very stable human, and
Human
I
boy.
like drinking the juice, not the blood of my enemies. That would be weird.
Uh,
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I believe
right.
you.
And the stabscarade has been maintained.
I'm watching you.
Wizards is a good one to talk about because, and here's my least favorite wizard. I have Fireball.
Yeah.
I
I
wanted
mean,
to
that's
make
just
a
default
wizard.
button, right?
I have made
For-
like
Yeah.
5 wizards. I think I have yet to give any of them Fireball because I'm so sick of that spell. And I don't
It's like-
begrudge it anybody who gets it. I understand it's a very good spell, and especially if you're fire flavored, by all means, go off, king, queen, thing.
royalty.
No, that doesn't work. They, them.
Because we want to be royals.
But there are so
James
many other.
Put your hand down,
Yeah,
Michelle.
You're
You want to be in the stream still.
supposed to be napping. But no, Fireball's a great spell, but there's so many other fun spells in D&D that don't deal as much damage.
There are a lot of utility spells in D&D that can be used in so many strange ways and have so many odd interactions that it almost feels like a bit of a waste to get more than one ability that does big damage.
Well, I
Right.
like the idea that you would maybe once you get to that level, you take Fireball first and you start replacing some of your lower level spells. But then once you get something that's stronger than Fireball, you get rid of it and replace it with a utility spell. I think it might be interesting to play a wizard who's a pacifist. And so you take none of their damaging spells. You're literally just utility.
Illusionist wizards are terrifying in 5e, by the way. If you want to play off type for a wizard who everybody says is a blaster, you say, no, I'm a controller, because that's what it says in the thing, and that's what it always has been. I cast illusory terrain, and as an illusionist wizard at a certain level, I make it real.
Yep.
I think in Rose game, I played a tank wizard that was
Abjuration.
what was it? They were a fairy blade singer.
Yep. Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
God,
using
that's
minor
adorable.
illusion.
With your Irish accent, yeah.
That's the one. Not minor illusion. Mirror image and what was it? Mirror image, blade singer, shield, and absorb elements to just jack up their tankiness as much as possible.
Mhm.
Still, obviously, have some issues with saving throws, but that was their Achilles heel. So
Yeah. Like I played that Abjuration Wizard that was all about shielding, and the only reason that he shielded is because the way that he fought was summoning things or being at the center of explosions and just living through it. Especially with absorb elements and then pumping that into someone with Shadow Blade or a Steel Wind Strike. That's why I had it. Because then the first hit would be however many D10 and then up to 6d6 or something insane just by casting Fireball on yourself. but being that daredevil wizard, that I know magic's got me. It's fine. I understand. You don't quite get this, but I know we're going to be fine. And then showing it by giving people wards or living through shit that you really shouldn't be as a wizard. Like that's super fun. Like that tanky or that daredevil that's not really tanky but has a way to get around it. Like shield, right? My goodness, shield. You just will never be hit by anything if you have high enough, right?
It's a blessing and a curse because it absolutely takes up one of your level 1 spell slots as a wizard. And it's like as a blade singer specifically, I've found I love playing blade singers. Yeah. But your entire level 1 through 3 spell list is spoken for because you're a melee caster and you have your mirror image, you have your blink or blur, you have so many different things that are like, how do I obscure people from murdering me? Because I still have the teeny tiny HP. And occasionally crits do happen if they're not rolling with disadvantage.
Yes.
I wish there was a way to do it in 5e, but in Rifts I made, you know, the Muscle Wizard meme?
Yeah, Punch Wizard.
I made the Muscle Wizard.
We should all watch Mashal, by the way.
I don't know what that is.
It's a new anime that's about a boy in a world of magic who doesn't have magic, so he just trains until he's stronger than magic.
That's kind of what this character was. He was super strong, but he had had something wrong with his brain. So the first time he saw somebody cast magic, it was like to make themselves stronger. So he was like, that must be what's wrong with me, or that's what must be my thing. So he would cast all of his spells, but his spells were always punch and suplex and drop kick. So he looked like a 1920 strong man, shaved head, big mustache. He carried around a giant medicine ball, which was his only ranged attack. And yeah, he would fisticuffs people, but when he fisticuffed people, he would punch them through walls because he was using magic. Magic.
Bully.
Yeah.
We're going to engage in some old-fashioned pugilism. Punch. Somebody sails through 2 walls and his ribs collapsed. That's the power of magic.
Yeah.
Magic, not genetic engineering and lost science to make superhumans.
Yeah, and you could really do that in 5th edition with enhanceability and what is that crazy transformation one where you just get angry enough to turn into a hulking beast.
Transformation, I believe.
Exactly. So
there's also
you can really do it.
Tasha's now.
Or you could do the spacey divination wizard who's a controller, but not of enemies, of the DM. I'm going, no, they didn't roll that. No, they didn't roll that either. Yes, I'm going to do this. Also, you're going to answer me a question.
Do you enjoy that, Anton, when you roll something as a bad guy, but then you actually rolled a 3?
Honestly,
I mean, it's
usually
fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has been a time. I think there's been one instance, and I've been like, all right, yes, it's been a super good roll. Here's this thing that's going to happen. I'm going to introduce some tension, and then Billy's like, no. And I'm like, all right, fuck, all right, here we go. It's not like disheartening or anything, but it is a little bit like, oh, god damn it, okay, I just need to change my plans on the fly after having just changed my plans on the fly to accommodate this random roll.
Yeah.
But it's the same sort of thing where I don't mind silvery barbs. I know that a lot of DMs do mind silvery barbs.
I wouldn't mind it at level 2. Level 1, it's a bit oppressive.
I think if only one person in the party has it, it's fine at level 1. If multiple people in the party have it, then I probably would take people aside and be like, all right, we'll bump this level 2 because it's just ridiculous. You could have 4 bards that all took silvery barbs and just nothing will ever get done.
Ever.
Especially not with the new bard.
Yeah, with the new bardic inspiration, yeah.
Just reaction inspiration. What a better way to do that. God bless.
So here is a class I've never played.
Ooh.
Literally never once. And it's very close to the wizard, but it's not because it's the sorcerer. I don't even know, man. I've never liked 5th edition sorcerer for some reason.
I love sorcerer.
I don't know. There's just something about it where the limitation of the spells just get to me for some reason. And then there's never been a subtype that I like.
I'm gonna push up my historian glasses for a second. and explain, I agree with you, and here's the problem with Sorcerer. Sorcerer was always supposed to be... The whole reason that Sorcerer was cool is it was an at-will caster. I think there was another phrase for it in 3.5, but basically what it meant was whatever spells you know, you don't have to prep them, you just have them available to you. Spontaneous casting, that's right. But
The poor man's wizard.
With spontaneous casting, you had the ability to have your entire spell list available to you every day. As a wizard, I had to sit there with my same amount of spell slots that a sorcerer has and go, okay, that one's going to be Magic Missile, but that one has to be something that I'm holding in case someone else casts Magic Missile, and I'll use that to counterspell them. And then this one is going to be a Fireball at level 3, but I also probably want at least one level 4 Fireball, but I need to leave room for the other counterspell that wait, sorry, I lie. Counterspell, not a spell in 3.5. So I want to leave room for all these, and you had to plan every single spell slot out the day of.
Hand in your historian glasses, you fucked up.
But
you done messed up.
But so, and I think it was even a feat you had to take to be able to counterspell things correctly or well, and otherwise it was like a ridiculous roll that was almost impossible.
It's like a caster check.
Yeah. It's a
That's
caster
fun.
check by casting the same spell at the same spell slot that you have prepped.
Yeah, it was weird.
I do like current sorcerer in that it feels a lot like it's just the magic monk.
Sure,
I think it, but I can see Ye's point. Like it kind of is in a weird spot where it feels like it's not really that different from Warlock, really.
Right.
And a big reason for that, it seems like, it's just the game has evolved from when it did have its own unique identity, and now it's at a point where it's just not
homogenized.
unique.
So now it's to the point where the wizard has more prepped spells per day than them. Yeah. And also those prepped spells can be on any spell slot that's available because everybody's spontaneous now, basically. And then on top of that, sorcerer spell list back in older versions didn't of 5e didn't have the subclass spells. Like what's the deep one or whatever it is, sorcerer? That's a great one because you get the ability to have bolted onto your subclass extra spells.
Oh, Aberrant Mind or whatever?
Yeah, Aberrant Mind. No other sorcerer classes before Aberrant Mind came out had that, and it was so freaking weird.
So, my counterpoint for why sorcerer is the greatest class in Dungeons and Dragons is wild magic.
Sure.
That's it.
You just want to turn yourself into a plant.
I want to become blue.
Yeah.
You want to be blue? That's your claim to fame?
Yep.
Okay.
Just it's a wild magic barbarian. I want to become blue, but yell really loud before it happens.
Yeah, and I think that there's so much space for, because wizard is I need the study to learn, and sorcerer is I just do magic. And meta magic was supposed to be the difference maker, but there's there's 3 that anybody uses.
Most of them suck.
Yeah.
Which actually isn't true. All of them are good. It's just everybody took one look at that and said, only sorcerers get meta magic now? This is garbage. I won't even care anymore.
I mean,
also, all the spells are so chonky now that meta magic's almost unnecessary. It's not that it's bad. It's just not needed. Meanwhile, you have a sorcerer who remembers that they're able to cast spells, subtle spell. They're going to fuck the day up, right up.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, because meta magic isn't readily available to all classes, you get a DM that'll just hand wave it anyway. Oh, the thing you said to them for calm emotions, that's just you talking to them. No, you literally mumble the spell at that person.
Yeah.
Per rules.
Yeah. It's, and then sorcery points are limited, but you can get them back, kind of like key, and the less said about monk, the better. Right? It's in a weird spot to me, but meta magic is game breaking, so it's not like they can add a whole bunch more. So they have to do it through the subclasses, but I haven't seen, they're fun. Wild magic is fun, and it's super flavorful, but it doesn't, huh?
And the best feature in the game.
I get that. It's super flavorful and fun, but it's, I don't know, it does give you that fantasy of I just do magic and some things will happen. But there's like, where's the mastery sorcerer? You know what I mean? The one who's like, yes, I know how to do magic and I know how to do it better than you, even though I know how to do it less than you. And that's what magic is supposed to be. But it's not. It's like, get an extra spell, cast one of your limited spells quietly. You know, it's just very weird to me.
I do think, even though I really enjoy Sorcerer and think it's a lot of fun because I like randomly rolled nonsense, that I understand that's the main reason why I like it.
Yeah, Wild Magic Sorcerer really is fun. Yeah,
it is.
The main beef I have with Sorcerer's subclasses are just kind of garbage.
It feels a lot like the Magic version of Hunter, how it has an identity crisis.
Yeah.
Or Ranger, sorry.
Yeah.
Ranger, Hunter, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
And
Hunter,
hence the crisis.
Because has there been not for Kana, a playtest that included Sorcerer for 1D&D yet?
No.
No.
And I do believe the next one will be everything. They said this at their summit, that the next Unearthed Arcana will have everything in it, every class in it. So at least we'll see it then. But yeah, I'd love to see what they think. Because like Bardic Inspiration to me is not really like mastery of magic, but something similar to that with sorcery, being able to use meta magic on other people's spells, like to unweave them or take a little bit of energy out of them or whatever else. That'd be really cool. That is a master of magic.
Meta magic and sorcery points have some really cool potential. Just as of right now, it's not used particularly
because it's bolted into one of 9 classes, one of 10 classes because of Artificer.
I want some meta magic. I want some meta magic you can use on other people's spells as a reaction that limit it to one target. Or, you know, shorten or
narrow spell. Oh, I love it.
Exactly. That'd be great.
What's that item? I think it was the homebrew item where it was like you change one letter in a word, in a spell's word to change the effect.
Yeah. That'd be great for wild magic too.
Yeah.
Like affecting other people's magic. Like that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Shit doesn't work on me.
If you could have a sorcerer that could do that, so you basically have the opposite of every meta magic feat. Narrow and weaken, loud.
Remove counterspell. Add fuck your spell.
Yeah, exactly.
I remove counterspell and fuck yourself. That's what I heard.
I mean, the sorcerer that I would play is definitely a divine soul, though, because that is real dumb fun of casting divine and arcane magic. I don't know what you could do with it. It'd just be hilarious.
But again, the fact that the thing that holds Divine Soul Sorcerer back is that it doesn't have a subclass spell list.
Yep. It just all of a sudden
Dead in the
can
water.
do cleric. Yeah.
To go off on a little bit of a side tangent, we're talking about 1D&D and stuff like that, and revisions.
Oh, we're so tangent right now.
So tangent. Is anybody interested, or has anybody heard anything else about Daggerheart?
They have not released additional information yet, as far as I'm aware.
I think they're gonna drop it at
It's probably gonna be Gen Con.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
They could also go to a PAX. Like PAX U is pretty popular these days. There's a lot of options. I'm enjoying this renaissance of games that we're getting these days, but also, you know, and here's the thing. We should have like a 1D&D episode of this where we all just vamp. Sure. But I will say, I don't blame the design team of Wizards of WotC for what happened with everything there. That was certainly a decision that came down from on high.
Sure.
And at least the fantasy version of the world that I live in, this was a thing where they said, hey, here's what we're going to do. And all the big people in Wizards of the Coast for the D&D division looked at them and said, that's a terrible idea, and I'll tell you why. You're going to ruin our fan base. And they said,
do it anyway.
But make money. And
from my understanding, from like interviews that have happened with like the community managers and stuff from WotC, a lot of the actual design team was not consulted on a lot of this direction shift, and they found out at the same time as everyone else did, and just sort of had very similar feelings. Hence the reason why so much of the information was leaked. Like
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
immediate.
Immediately. And I tell you right now that I have a lot of respect for folks in there like Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, and I would not be surprised for a second, hypothetically, if someone on their team were to have hypothetically said, so I have a send button, and they just said, fire off.
We won't stop you. Yeah, but
that
I don't know.
was cuckoo, crazy, ridiculous.
Yeah, like sorcerer just always gets me. Like I think another great version of a sorcerer is the warlock, as we were talking about, or the oracle from Pathfinder. The I am
The
haunted, therefore I have.
Oh,
Yeah,
my baby! I made
It's
one
so
of the
good.
Forever Children lines of Cursed.
Mhm.
Oracles are so good. They were like,
Yeah.
what if I want to be a cleric but have a personality?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see more of sorcerer, but I've never played one, and I don't know.
It's difficult. I would say it's very difficult to play sorcerer off type because they don't have much of a kit. They are a full caster, much like a wizard, who is reliant on their spell list, but their spell list does not allow for a lot of dynamicism because at level 5 you have 6, maybe? I think you have 5 spells.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. Let's see.
5th level, you have 9 spells.
9 spells? Does that count cantrips?
Nope.
Okay, so maybe you
Oh,
start
sorry,
with...
you have 9 casts. You know 6 spells. My apologies.
There we go.
There it is. You get 2 to start, plus 1 every level.
Yep.
Yarhar. Meanwhile, as a wizard, I can basically prep 2 per level.
Mm-hmm. I think it's almost like, to me, it's like they had wizard, and then they were like, well, everybody kind of plays it as this old guy who has to study a lot. Let's make something that's young and fun and just kind of explosive.
Mhm.
And that way you made a sorcerer. You're like, I'm going to be a damage dealer because that's what I wanted to do as a wizard.
Mhm.
But I don't have to like know every animal that I might fight in every situation that I might be in. So I'm just going to pick a sorcerer. I can pick a couple things. Fireball. I know I'm always going to love fireball. Why not?
Yeah.
It's a spell.
Our
Spellcaster
resident
just flips onto the
tiefling.
scene and turns their head backwards. Says, "Deal with it, Granddad.
Yeah.
This ain't your granddad spells."
Yeah, I think there was a great Joe Cat video about sorcerers and how they're basically sugar babies. Or no, that was warlocks.
Warlocks,
They're trust fund kids. Sorcerers are trust fund kids.
Yeah, they're Nepo baby.
Yeah, Nepo baby. Yeah,
they grew up in the bloodline, and then they just get it.
Our resident
Inheritance of a million
tiefling.
mana.
Our resident tiefling's in the chat saying, "Well, I have extra racial buffs and feature spells." And it's like, yeah, no, that's exactly how you trick it out as a sorcerer. As you go, I need more spells. And in fairness, playing a sorcerer at high level is very fun because once you have enough sorcery points in your spell pool, you never run out of spells. And your ability to bonus action, that's something that I will say. Your ability to bonus action convert and unconvert spell slots on the fly is something very useful and that a lot of sorcerers don't really consider doing. But you can do it every turn. You can either turn a spell slot into points or turn the points into a spell slot. You can literally eat your level 1 spells as you're casting level 3s to make sure you still have enough ammunition for your slug gun.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I didn't even realize that. Granted,
Yeah.
I've never played a 5th edition sorcerer, so
Yeah.
Same.
To me, it really feels like sorcerer is made to pick up those feats that give you extra spell and to dip into something else. Like dip in the bard, dip into warlock, get a couple of extra things, because warlock gets extra spells. Even though they don't get more of them, they get other spells. And then you have
Warlock
Eldritch
with
Blast,
their
and
weird
you don't
little
need anything.
mushroom spell slot tree.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't even need anything once you have Eldritch Blast. Then you can make your sorcerer the way you want, whatever. At that point.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do something at least interesting. Because the problem was the idea was sound. Using meta magic is constricting meta magic to sorcerer is an interesting way to make sorcerer an interesting, viable thing. But feats used to be a lot more robust back when meta magic was cooler, and everybody used it. It was just kind of what you used your feats for as a sorcerer or a wizard or any caster.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably make a very mean and nasty shadow magic sorcerer with Shadow Blade and darkness, because
Yeah.
darkness and seeing in darkness is just ridiculous.
I listen to the dungeon dudes, and they swear by Shadow Sorcerer as a way to abuse blind sight, essentially.
Sure. Yeah. I believe that. And I mean, you get the Hound of Ill Omen that can help, and if you know, like it's yeah, I get
And
it.
I'm pretty sure that the Shadow Sorcerer is one of the ones that gets an extra spell slot or spell tree.
Yeah, I believe so.
It might have been the first one, in fact, not Aberrant. But yeah, no, sorcerers are kind of on the tin. But there's ways to play them off type, and the main way to play them off type is by just taking some very fun spells.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the way you can play a wizard off type too. It's really for those big spellcaster classes, you just have to go out of your way to find the neat spells that are more flavorful and less chunky damage spells. And then you can play off type pretty easily. Like you were saying, Charles, with Shadow Blade as your thing, and then as a sorcerer like Lou Wilson on Exandria Calamity or whatever the Critical Role thing was called, played this amazing half bard, half sorcerer who was like a swashbuckler.
Yeah.
Who just ran in and started fighting, and then he did a summon dragon spirit next to him to ride into battle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lou's pretty dope. He's a pretty good character.
I love watching anything he does.
Yeah, if you're willing to sort of deep dive into it and to really make the character your own, then yeah, I think you're playing against type, because you're not just being like, oh, I got magic, boom, boom, boom. I think that definitely works. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, cleric, obviously, you play against type by healing.
Yeah. Nobody ever does that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so rude. The amount of times I've seen someone use inflict wounds while their teammate is rolling death saves on the ground next to them. It's like, what? Why?
Oh wow, yeah, it's true.
Hey, I like to say that I play a cleric that always saves a chamber for a heal spell.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, I'm always afraid that if I ever played like I never play a healer in these tabletop games, because I'm always afraid, because we always start at like level 1, and it'll just be, I'm just afraid that there's going to be like this incident where it's just like, oh well, you've encountered Snake, and the Snake has just demolished everybody. And like, well, I'm sorry, I used a cantrip. Sorry, I can't do any more for you. The Snake looked at us funny, and now we're all dead. I'm sorry, I don't have any spells. I don't have any healing for you. I'm always afraid that's gonna happen, and that's why I just never even want to try.
You just got to play the best healing class that was ever created, which is the 1 D&D bard, which heals only when you need healing, when you get hit as a reaction. Like, what? It's so great.
They need to do. They got to do something about that. That's too strong.
It's way strong, and to me, that's
what
I would
fell
think
to
of as a
zero.
cleric.
No, you didn't. Instantly up.
Yeah.
Just four bard party is definitely going to be the flavor of new D&D when it comes out, because it's just like, we're an unkillable band of crazy idiots. What are you going to do?
I mean, there's so many ways to make healing more engaging. I wouldn't know. I'm a Final Fantasy 14 player, and healing's not engaging. But there are ways.
I didn't realize
to do
this was a burn ward. What are we doing
Yeah.
here?
I mean, if there were shield healers in D&D, they would actually make sense and work well, I think.
Oh, that'd be so cool, actually.
Yeah.
I would really like
There
that.
is a shield healer. There's the Artificer
Actual
Alchemist.
Yeah.
An actual shield healer?
Abjuration Wizard.
And the Artillerist.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Artillerist also shoots shields at people.
Yeah, it's that, like, it reminds me of like Slayers or any other like old swords and sorcery where someone puts up a barrier and saves you.
To prevent the damage. Yeah. You don't want to get hit at all. You want to stop the dragon's breath from fucking hitting you, because it's dragon's breath.
And if you're using a reaction, that's fine. You can do your stuff on your turn. Give them a reaction and a bonus action shield for someone, and then they would never have to do anything. Like, you could get your big heal that you can cast every once in a while. But like, that's all you need in D&D. Like, you're constantly taking damage, and you just don't need to be at 0 and get hit 3 times. That's really it. Like
Yeah.
that's what kills you.
I'm sure.
Nothing else is gonna.
I sure hope that they find a way to make that fun and engaging and not just absolutely ridiculously powerful, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's got to be limited. It's got to use like your class feature. What is that called? Like not Divine Strike. What is it called? Turn Undead, I think turns into other things, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Turn Undead for the cleric will let you do.
Yeah, just like Bardic Inspiration, you get like 3, it grows, and it comes back on a short rest. So you're shielding people for like a D10 to to 2D10 3 times every short rest. Like that's not too bad.
Honestly, I want to see shielding come from melee classes.
Yes, that'd be cool.
Well, so I took that in the
You
game,
have defensive, yeah.
and yeah, that's the whole thing that I took as my fighter ability is if I'm close to somebody, I can interpose my shield, and it just blocks damage.
Yep, like that's perfect. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, what is that Battlemaster Fighter? What is that called?
Battlemaster Fighter has another ability that gives
stuff,
temporary hit points when you like do the swap maneuver.
And they can riposte and other things. Yeah.
Yeah, but the fighting style is what
Yeah.
Philip's talking about, which is just, I think, defensive is what it's called.
Yeah. But if you put that together with the maneuver fighter, that also gets to like parry for other people, interpose, shake off damage yourself. Like Battlemaster Fighter is something that I've wanted to play forever.
Oh, it's so fun.
It sounds like, because you want those martial classes to have techniques and maneuvers and stuff. Like that makes sense to me.
I mean, if we can jerk off Critical Role a bit more, I think Liam plays an excellent Battlemaster. He uses like all those fucking
goofy
little
ones.
tools in that kits, like trip and distract or feint and all. Like,
you know what is absolutely the funniest thing to ever do on a Battlemaster Fighter that I haven't done before or anything is when the enemy tries to walk away from you to go hurt your friends behind you, and you have Sentinel feature and you use tripping attack on them, and they fall over and have 0 move speed for the rest of their turn.
Take that, asshole.
You're on the ground now, buddy. I haven't used my action surge yet. You're in for a day. It's gonna be bad.
Letting your friends shift. Like, to me, the best monk is a Battlemaster Fighter monk mix, and I'm gonna play that one day. And I think it would be hilariously fun if it wasn't completely opposites, like ability wise. I think you can still make it work. You can go dexterity.
To be a dex fighter, yeah.
Yeah. You can do dexterity. You can do all those things, like grappling strike, menacing, all that stuff.
Also, isn't there I think it's an optional role or Tasha's for monks where if you have a weapon proficiency, you can make it a monk weapon. So you could technically be a fighter monk and use glaives on monk. That's technically your monk weapon then.
Yeah. So like I think we're not talking about monk, but I had to bring it up because playing against type for monk is easy.
Yeah.
Super easy.
Literally, the Salvation Monk is sitting right there. When I played that one, Charles, first off, not only was it terrifyingly effective at being an actual punch you and hurt you monk, but then also just having free Sanctuary was stupid.
Oh, yeah. What is that? Way of Mercy?
Well, that's what it is now, but I was using the UA for that game we played.
Yeah, that's right. Like, there's so many... Like, monk is not a great class, but it's super flavorful, and all the subclasses are super flavorful.
A monk gets a lot of shit, but when something's not immune to being stunned, monk is suddenly a god on a decent enough roll of a D20. Yeah. Hey, you have how many legendary resistances? Shit, I have 4 attacks around. Let's see.
See how those we can use up.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the Shadow Monk, once again, just abuse darkness. Oh my god, having advantage on that many attacks.
Going back to Critical Role again, the absolute mental gymnastics that Matthew Mercer had to do to get around Bo.
Sure.
Because it's just like, I have a bunch of humanoid enemies for Bo. None of them are immune to stun. This is potentially one of my big bads. She could just kill him. She could just walk up and accidentally kill him.
Sounds
I also
awful.
love the Kensei monk with ranged weapons, like a longbow. Yeah,
Yeah.
screw you. Like that's fun.
Bonus action attack on, and that's, you know, I will say it's difficult in a lot of ways to play. I mean, it's not difficult to play a monk off type. You just play the fucking Avatar: Last Airbender monk, and you are
Yeah.
already playing poorly and off type.
Mhm.
Way of the Four Elements is not a good class.
It's
It is
not.
bad. It's very
I've seen
bad.
some good homebrew versions of it that are
I
really
have
awesome.
too.
Yeah.
And Tiki was playing one in my homebrew game, and what I did for it was I reduced the amount that it costs by one using a magic item for a certain element. And there was like elemental raiments that she could collect that would do it for each element type, and that made it playable. And then having extra spells to do made it playable. And there's a lot of fun stuff in there. It's just not per long rest.
Oh man.
But it's funny to me that you have something like the monk that is a short rest recharge class and therefore gets screwed over by the way that D&D 5e is played. But then you also have the fighter, which should be as well. And it's not.
Yeah.
The fighter is an absolute monster in every way, shape, and form. And God forbid you let him sit and think for 20 minutes, because then he's a full monster again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's back again.
Oh
Yeah.
no, he has 6 attacks again.
But can we talk
Why?
about Cavalier and how stupid it is?
Cavalier is so cool, though.
Nobody ever
Ride
picks
your
it.
horse in this dungeon.
Yeah.
It
Cavalier is
basically,
fucking sweet.
it's a
It
it's a
is.
fucking battle
amazing.
master in its own right.
I want to play a Cavalier. Either that or
Cavalier with the retinue background.
Mm.
So you start with the fucking 3 little servants.
Yeah.
The main problem that I have with Cavalier is that it gets Sentinel as a class feature far after you will pick Sentinel as a Cavalier.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's a waste of like a level 14 or something ability because you're already going to have it.
Hmm.
I mean, theoretically, the DM could just let you re-roll your feet.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But it's
I want.
it's so good. Like, if you look at every feature on Cavalier, I don't understand. The
Yeah.
only reason that people don't do it is because they look at Battlemaster. They go,
Yeah.
this is better.
Don't have to worry about a mount. It's funny because I'd love to see like a battle master and then barbarian ancestral protectors and your like horse tribe. You know what I mean?
nobody takes damage ever.
Fucking
Yeah,
Michelle
everybody.
Michelle
Nobody
in
ever.
chat. Here's how you play
Yeah.
off type as a Cavalier. You play a Centaur.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you can't ride yourself.
Yeah.
And if a centaur is riding another centaur, that's just fucking.
That's off type though, huh?
It is. It's true. An off type cavalier is one whose mount is lost completely. And then they have to get 5 levels of paladin to get fine steed. So there you go.
Oh my gosh.
There you are. Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they come up with the marshals. I hear that they're going to try to do stuff with the weapons and with the fighting in general to make it more complex, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find Steve. We'll find him someday. He's
Yeah.
around here somewhere.
No,
And we're gonna ride him.
I already know where Steve is. If I want to see him, I'll go see Steve.
Don't ride Steve.
No,
I mean,
his
what if
wife
you ask
does
him
that enough.
nicely?
I don't want
Oh.
to.
Okay.
He has
I mean, I
afforded
don't-
children.
I don't know your life.
What else do we have that's difficult to play off? Bard can
Are
play.
there-
First off, Bard can play anything. Bard
Yeah,
does not
absolutely.
have an off type.
That's true.
Yeah.
With a combination of
Just
spells and
everything.
expertise, you literally can build whatever the heck you want as a Bard.
Yes.
To be fair, though, the bard type is usually happy-go-lucky sex maniac.
It's
Play
true.
a eunuch.
Yeah.
A eunuch bard?
Or you know what?
Yeah.
Play
A
play
castrata?
play an
Ca-
ace.
castrati.
Just play an ace
Oh,
Bard.
wow.
Just play an
Yeah.
ace Bard.
Completely ace.
Ace
Yeah.
bard, yeah.
Yeah.
Ace bard or a castrati?
What's
Mm.
an
I
ace-
want to play a
ace bard?
castrati. That'd be cool.
As in asexual.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
You could do literally anything. You could be a terrifying bard with what is that, secret or whispers?
Mhm.
Is
You
it
could be.
whispers or something else?
It's a college of. Is it college
Oh,
of
College
whispers?
It's College of Whispers.
College of Whispers is amazing, but it's like
Yeah.
the abilities are all like RP based.
Yeah.
So
Like if there was a heavy like I would love to play a college. You pretty much just like talk shit, terrify everyone.
I have a College of Whispers slash tricks or arcane trickster rogue build that unlocks roughly 6 expertise slots naturally, and has full backstab at certain level slots to it. And I think the favorite thing I have about that character is that's one of my favorite characters that I build constantly. Her name is Eve. My favorite thing about her, though, is that she has that keen mind feat. And so what I do is I kill someone, I steal their shadow, I turn into them, I write all the stuff down in a book that I can remember about them because I can remember all of it within a set amount of time. And then after I do that, I don't need to care about the weird shadow mold thing. I can just pretend to be them and imitate them and take the actor feat.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so I just have like a list of personalities. It's not off type because it's still a very murdery, very creepy rogue, but it's
But
just
not bard.
Yeah, well, I mean, a Whispers Bard is basically the conceit of you want to be a what was it in 3.5? There was a special class. It was not technically a rogue. It was a spellcaster.
Oh,
You just want to be Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings.
No one wants to be Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings.
I don't want to look like Wormtongue because Brad Dourif looked like shit in that movie. But like, yeah,
Such a
to be able to like
great
just
man,
whisper in somebody's ear and have them just like go fucking crazy, I would have loved. I'd have so much fun just whispering people's ears on the street and be like, just all of a sudden just watch them have a fucking panic attack freak out. Hell yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Oh my god!
But I'm fucked up already, so.
Yeah. I mean, the main problem with the Whispers Bard is that you have to kill your target to steal their shadow, and that's really disruptive to play.
Yeah. Really can be.
It has great flavor to it. I feel like there's other ways they could have worded that, but they wanted to make sure it wasn't abused, so they made you have to murder someone.
I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. You can't pretend to be the king for a day.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Can't be a
can.
shopkeeper. Right, but
Just lock him in a steamer trunk, right?
There's you're saying off type for the bard. There's a person I like to watch, Tuluk the Barbarian. I don't know if you want to watch the characters. He
His
made
character build.
Bane from Batman as a bard.
Yep.
It is a more health, more damage Bane than if you played him as a barbarian.
Huh.
And he does a couple things where it's like, so bard gets like a shockwave or thunder, gets like spells, and so you would pretend those to be the things that Bane can do, like take knock, and you just break down a door instead of like, oh, I roll to damage the door. No, Bane doesn't try to damage a door; he just knocks down the door. Yeah, and so he just literally hits it. You cast knock, and the door's gone. And so it's things like that, and other spells like I can't remember what it is. It's like that lets you change your form. You can like increase your size and enlarge yourself with spells and everything. And so I think that's a really great one. I think it'd be a lot of fun to play just a melee smash type, but also be a bard.
Yeah. It definitely can be anything. That's the thing about bards is you can literally play anything as a bard. You don't just have to be a sex offender.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, I love playing as Lan, who is not really outwardly into anything or anyone other than beauty in general, and it's more what he can do with art. But it's like playing that kind of aloof, doesn't want to get involved bard is also fun, because that in Philip's game, I am the only one with charisma, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Absolutely. But what Lan loves to do is just watch people talk to people and flounder. And then if something goes wrong, then he'll fix it. Kind of that bard that's like, oh yeah, I got this, but this will be funny. Oh, yep, there it went. Let me just get in here. Okay, let me talk now. Which is a good way not to take over the whole game as a bard, too. because a lot of times Bard playing 2-type is the one who talks the most, is the controller of the party almost, and
Yeah.
it's nice to back off of that every once in a while.
Yeah, I remember when in Michelle's game, since I was the warlock, I had a really high charisma
Mhm.
score, and I often felt that it was like, oh well, I need to be the one to say something because
Yeah.
I have the bonuses to it. I need to do this. And it's like, but I don't want to.
Meanwhile,
other
Nereus was
people are
just an angry little man.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was like it wasn't his personality to be like, let me charm these people,
Mhm.
where so many other people were. And so it was like, well, I'll sit back. If something seriously bad goes wrong, maybe
Mhm.
I can sweet talk it after the fact. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Theros could have faced, but that wasn't his character.
Mhm.
He was like, I don't know these people. I don't care about these people, like these random ass people. Get them out of the way. What are we doing here?
How do
Why
you
do I keep accidentally stabbing myself?
Theros, that poor boy. Fine, let's get this over with. Gets one shot by a cantrip.
Listen, he wasn't at full health. I knew I was gonna end badly, but yeah, it was like I was just playing in character. He was just done with the whole situation. He was like, we're either gonna fight and die, or you get out of the way. Donk.
Yeah. It's certainly a thing. Can anybody think of a way to play a ranger off type? That's one that I'm thinking it's difficult because you literally have to describe your type in your creation of your ranger.
Yeah. I mean, you could go the urban bounty hunter, but that's still a ranger,
Yeah.
right? That's still 100% ranger. I mean, kind of getting rid of all the nature stuff is kind of playing off type, but not really, because there's so many rangers that just go, nah, I don't want that.
Yeah. Ranger.
It's almost like really delving into it is off type.
Yeah, I mean that's a ranger playing off type's a ranger who gets to be in his preferred terrain.
Yeah, because it's never true. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, it's not off type, but it's really weird. The Swarmkeeper Ranger is very interesting.
Yeah, they really did watch Naruto, huh?
Yeah, they really did. But that's kind of, using nature. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Having an animal companion is off type too, technically.
Yeah, playing a Beastmaster Ranger in the old version, not the revised one, that's definitely an off type choice. Because if you ever came to me at my table, I would do everything in my power to convince you to at least play the new one. Please don't. You're gonna hate yourself, because basically it was like playing a Beastmaster in Guild Wars 1. It was like, sure you could, but why would you want to fight that latency?
Yeah. I mean, there's the Slayer and the Hunter are just quintessential rangers. But you could you could, kind of, I don't know, it's hard to play against type with ranger because you're picking it.
You're picking it, and then on top of that, every ranger what they get in their kit is as follows: big damage on first hit, the ability to cast some spells. So I guess you could go into how you cast your spells, because there's been a lot of conjecture about, like, and I love being mundane ranger with spell slots that are just like bags of tricks. Like, I think that's
an
fun.
Interesting idea.
Yeah, so like I had a ranger who basically, rather than, casting Ensnare, he had a Tanglefoot bag, or rather than, I think one of my favorite things was an idea of whenever a spell was cast towards him, he had a bag of like absorption powder that he would throw up in front of him for absorb elements, and it would deflect a lot of the magic blast coming at him.
I guess you could do Fey Wanderer with charisma and be the face ranger.
Oh yeah, you could, because if you're charisma wisdom is an interesting double to have, because because you'd be able to add your wisdom to your persuasion stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
It could get pretty interesting, and I know they get more magic, and that's why I thought about it, because they get a little bit more magic. They're teleporting a little bit more. They're bringing people with them,
and they get that goofy counterspell thing.
Yeah, you get the summon Fey, which is not Like it's not a companion. It's kind of pocket sand, but with pixies.
So
Yeah.
there's a question in chat. Weren't Rangers from Tolkien? I mean, the one that we play in D&D, yes.
Yeah.
But
100%.
Rangers have been a thing for forever. Like that's a actual thing. It's like it's a hunter. It's a person who is considered the person who is the caretaker of, like, I think Rangers were like caretakers for King's Land and things like that.
Yeah, I believe so.
And so it was basically a person who lives out in the wilderness and makes sure it stays in balance.
Mm.
And I think Tolkien just made it a more esoteric, I do this because it's right to do, whereas like in actuality Rangers were like, well, like a park ranger. It's like, well, I want to make sure that the ecosystem's in check because this is protecting the balance of the ecosystem, but also it's my job.
Yeah, I think
Back
it
to
was
Jellystone, asshole.
originally the keeper of a British royal park or forest.
Yeah.
No offense to any park rangers, I was just joking.
He dared to kill a king's dare.
Yeah, exactly. It's those people. These are the
Aragorn-
king's pheasants. Don't touch them.
Aragorn, son of Arathorn, keeper of Breezy Park.
And the badgers that live here.
Please don't litter. It's impolite. Give a hoot, don't pollute.
In that one scene, he's like, put out that fire! This is not a fire-safe zone. There's far too much low brush.
Exactly.
I mean, we all know the ranger that you could play as. There's one in particular with 2 scimitars.
Play off
He's a
type
little-
by playing directly on type. Just be Trist. Only
Just
Trist.
lean right into it. Just lean right into
Someone
it.
make a book about that type.
Just go all the way around. Just nobody will ever expect.
That's still one of my favorite jokes at the beginning of the Goblins webcomic. Just like it was the Goblin village, the main characters were the goblins, and their village was invaded by just a party of Drist knockoffs.
You could also do like Horizon Walker, like they're the Plane Walker Ranger who's like, I don't give a crap about you. I'm just here because we're gonna pave this planet one day.
The Surveyor! Oh my god, that's great! Just
Like,
be
that
like
would be
a Gith Yankee Surveyor who's just like, oh yeah, this place is nice. Be a shame if a bunch of people riding red dragons showed up.
Yeah, you got magic here. I'm just here to
How
see.
much food would you say is on this planet if you had to
This
like
village
pile
isn't
it all
zoned
up?
for this. You guys aren't zoned for this. You guys need to relocate. We're gonna move a portal through here. You gotta move. You gotta move.
That's it.
Just a Hitchhiker's Guide Horizon Walker.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There you go. There's one.
That is one. There you go.
Or as a
It'd be fun.
Star Wars offset, you could be the animal.
Yeah.
So you play a Beastmaster, but you're the animal, and you just have like you summon a human, or you summon a humanoid companion to walk
You
with
summon a peasant.
you. Yeah.
Get my gruel.
Yeah.
Oh, you go.
Knock that off the
That's
shelf
a
so I can eat it,
druid,
please.
Michelle. They exist.
Yeah. Druids do exist. That's another one that's like playing off type.
Yeah, if you were I'd say it'd be fun as you're the animal and you just have a Fey guardian that so the city doesn't try and like kill you when a panther
Fey
walks
Walker,
into town.
Fey Walker, but you're an up jump dog.
Mm-hmm,
You summon your master just to walk around with you in town.
There are some. I think I'd have to look at it. Let's see subclasses. Because you could pick like a kobold, maybe. I don't know that you can. Don't quote me on that. But then that thing can talk.
No, Denitra.
What's with kobolds?
You said it with that lilt in your voice.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
Michelle
I'm
was
trying-
already talking about your Steves in chat before.
Yeah.
all the Steves.
If we go back to Monty's game, I'm killing your kobolds.
No, my god, you.
I have to test out graviturgy somehow. Well, better
No,
than
you're
make tiny cubes of
not.
meat.
How dare you? You leave them alone. If I give them individual names, will
man.
that humanize them enough for you so you won't like want to pulp them?
No, you've already
I
called them all
recommend it
Steve.
for.
My God.
Yeah. I mean, since it just needs to be what challenge rating 1/4 or lower, yeah, you could get like a kobold or like a goblin, and then you're
What if-
you're actually the vet.
Yeah, what if you summon an undead? Like a challenge rating
No.
1/8 zombie?
Just
Yeah.
summon
Shambles.
or create illusion. You just
Oh.
pretend like you're the dog. Obviously, just the illusion looks like it's holding your leash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking you for walkies, yeah.
Barely disguised fetish. There you
Yeah.
go.
There you go.
I don't want to talk about that anime.
Oh yeah, the interspecies reviewers.
I mean,
No, that
Yeah.
one's great. What?
That one is great. Philip, I think you would really like it actually.
so yeah. So in Tasha's Cauldron, you can make any like beast. It just has a template. So you can make a beast of a land that's a person.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
see why not.
Yeah,
It's
no.
got 40-foot land and climb speed. That's weird for a human being, but that's okay.
He nimble.
Right. Yeah, he nimble. He punch things, right? You have a monk as your pet. It just
God.
punches things. Oh man.
Oh
There
my
we go.
God.
I think
Perfect
that would
off-type ranger. I'm gonna
Mm.
pocket
We
that for
did it.
later. That's good.
Yeah, write that shit down.
Did we can keep going? How's everybody feeling?
I'm
think that's-
hungry.
I think that's
Yeah,
that's
I'm keen to get
basically
into it.
everything. Like
Yeah.
Artificer, because it wasn't in the player's handbook. I mean, they have so many options too. You could do
Yeah.
whatever the hell you want.
Any expert class, I feel, is
Mhm.
is just a wellspring of possibilities because you have so many things you can gear it towards.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I guess one last thing. The only one we haven't talked about yet is Barbarian. So we could
That's true.
I think that's the only one we haven't done off class.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ah,
technically fighter, but
yes.
everything. A fighter can
Yeah,
pretty
fighter.
much do everything.
Fighter
So that's why I was.
Fighting man
There's
is
no-
very difficult to say it's off class because anything that you do, you just have the ability to pick weapons and attacks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sword chucks,
Yeah.
Let's just bring it back.
Yeah, that's how you go
Go-
off type. You just go full fighter from 8-bit theater.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, why not, right?
Twin-fisted monkey style. I hope that involves him keeping his pants on.
Yeah.
But so I can actually like bring a little, talk a bit about playing a barbarian off. But briefly, I mean, so this is my first time playing a barbarian in Philip's game, and part of my own personality and weird shit definitely ekes in all the time.
So
'cause,
it is weird.
It
I'm just fucking with you. You're always
You're-
like, it's not weird. It's
You're
the things
cruising
they
for
say are not
bruising."
Weird.
How dare you? I'm just saying. So like
Calling out the
Okay.
inconsistencies.
the character has like the large weapon. She wants to smash things, break things, but she also doesn't like being filthy or dirty. She doesn't like getting her boots wet because who wants wet boots? It's gross.
That is true.
But I don't know, because like whenever I think of like barbarian characters, I think of just like a no offense, but like a dumb person that all they know is hit. All they know is hit hard.
Unga bunga.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Classic Unga Bunga. So that's why like the little bit of thing that I add to Berna, or she'll just like exclaim like, I went to college. She is an educated barbarian.
I went to college for this.
Yeah, I went to college for this.
They're just a grad student. That's the rage.
Seems about right.
My loans. That'll be your next battle cry. The next time I rage, I'm just gonna shout, "My loans!"
You understand the interest rate on those loans? Crack.
the definite difficulty of playing a barbarian off type is that rage is such a powerful thing to use at the start of a battle because it doubles your HP. So mechanically, it's hard to play off type. That said, you don't have to just do rage to be a barbarian. You can be someone who pockets that. I think playing the most mechanical way to play off type of a barbarian is to not let yourself just immediately Hulk out and run.
Yeah, but that's what I wanted to do since this was the first time playing the barbarian. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna scream and hit shit with big weapons.
Yeah, I mean, I played in your game.
Oh, we got raided by Fusca. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hey, hello.
Hi. We're talking about playing barbarian out of type. Like, in that Eberron game, I played a wild magic barbarian that when he would rage, he would go into a trance. He would get calmer. And then magic and stuff would come out, but he's still just beating people to death. But, like, you could just invert a little bit of it. Like the rage with your ancestral guardian, like you don't have to be mad. Like now it's a kegger, right? Like that'd be fun.
Like, rage cage.
Oh yeah, like super side. Like
I think that your barbarian, as far as I've ever seen, Charles, is one of the best examples of playing a barbarian off type. Because didn't you have a pretty high int score? Like you were 14 or 16, weren't you?
Yeah, so that he could investigate and do things like that. And I don't think you get anything at all that helps you with any sort of talky things, like at all, like as Path of Wild Magic. Like you get magic awareness, which is you tingle when magic's around. That's cool. It's fun. It's flavorful. You could be like a bloodhound and sniff it out. That'd be cool too.
Is so cool.
Yeah. It's nice. But yeah, you don't get anything else. I don't think. There's
another thing about barbarians is that when you look at a lot of them, a lot of their ribbon abilities are actually super strong and fun. The totem barbarians speak with animals. First off, don't make them cast that stuff as a ritual. Just let them cast the spell at will. It's fine. No one's going to begrudge you giving them speak with animals.
Are you sure?
Will.
No, I want my barbarian to have to sit and think about what he's done before he can talk to the chipmunks.
I mean, you can flavor it as like a mind meld between them and the animal if you want, and that's cool. But also, the timing of it doesn't have to matter. They made it a ritual so that they didn't get a free level 1 spell, but it doesn't matter. They're a barbarian. But like being able to detect magic basically at will was so fun. You, Charles, poking around and then also having this absolute curiosity because you were a caster.
Yeah.
Technically. And you saw that as a challenge to get better at it. And that was great. I loved every second of that character.
It's not effective, though. I mean, the character would be effective. Well, it's just a barbarian. You hit things, and sometimes you teleport. That's fine.
The other trick is, like, for certain classes in D&D, Paladin, for example, like, playing off type by just making yourself less effective and statting into other things is very easy because Paladins, Barbarians, Fighters, they're all very strong without having to try.
Yeah.
Very true.
You're definitely going to get that. Yeah, I don't know. There was Storm Herald, which I always wanted to use, but I can't remember why I always went, There's something about it.
Yeah, I played one of those in Monty's game. I really liked it.
Yeah.
It's fun because magic damage, you know.
Yeah, magic damage comes out. It's cool in that way.
That's what Ro's playing in Anton's game, right?
Yeah. Desert Storm Herald, I think, right? Anton?
Yeah, because she's doing fire damage,
That gives you a little bit of extra cool stuff, like being a sea barbarian could be fun because you breathe underwater and you can swim and, you know, eventually you get to, like, what is it? Knock people back with waves and things. Like, that's fun. That you could play like a shaman, right? And I mean, of course, you get Totem Warrior, so you can do more shaman and zealot. So it's not quite.
You get Totem Warrior so that you have all the damage resistances. Let's not mince words.
It's true. It's true.
But there's a lot of things you can do. You can definitely, I think that Barbarian going into Wisdom is a strong way to play against type too, because it plays against type in terms of stat line, but in terms of flavor for Barbarians, I think it plays into a type that isn't developed enough. because wisdom gives you survival, animal handling, perception, insight, all of these things that, like, being a very intuitive character and like having the ancestral guardian version and being able to, like, you know, speak with your ancestors and do things with that, or going heavily into int as a barbarian and being the wild magic one where you're like knowledgeable about the magic that's around you because you have this weird innate ability. All of those things are things you can use as like tools to look at and say, okay, I haven't seen a barbarian like this before. What does this do? I think a lot of playing against type is experimentation.
Hear me out, though.
Yeah.
Charisma barbarian, President Camacho from Idiocracy.
Yeah.
I mean, there used to be the
Come
Scald barbarian bard, right?
Yeah,
Let's be
yeah,
a
the
Skald.
Skald. Yeah, I played a Skald in your game, Aaron.
Wait, in the Battle
Battle
of the Bards?
Yeah,
Technically.
I was a barbarian.
Yep.
Interesting.
That was a fun one shot.
I didn't know they had their own name.
I Hanna-Barbera the fuck out of that game.
I loved it.
Complete with Corridor and Yeti.
Yes. We here were Juicy and the Pussycats.
Yeah.
Well, some of
I
us
think
were.
That's right.
Scald is a very old word, but it was 3.5. It was a prestige class. It's a bard barbarian.
Oh.
Yep.
That's allowed to
Okay, that's
cast
cool.
spells while raging, which this thing I made was not.
No, it's so fun.
Yeah, it was a great time. That's another thing is, like, if you pick a spellcaster as a subclass for a barbarian, you can have a lot of fun with it because you can't do it while fighting. So you get to pick all the weird spells that you never get to choose, like that are like downtime spells, just for funsies.
Do you get to keep concentration spells though, even if you start raging?
No, you lose concentration immediately.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I think.
you cannot concentrate on a spell while being in a rage, and there might be one that's like maybe later level. No, I think that's Druid in Wild Shape.
I see. You're
Well,
right.
Druid, you can always concentrate in Wild Shape. You just can't cast until you get high level. But Barbarian, you drop concentration the second that you go into rage. They have a very strict. If you're raging, no magic. Because that used to be part of the flavor of the class. That's just how it goes.
I remember about a prestige class where it was all about destroying magic. Like, you got powerful from like finding and destroying magic artifacts.
Yeah, that'd be a really cool kind of anti-mage barbarian.
Yeah.
Because, you know, magic doesn't affect you when you rage. Like, that would be cool too. Or is harder to affect you when you rage.
That's a thing in Pathfinder
Rage
still.
Slayer, too.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Pathfinder and in 3.5 you got like bonuses to spell resistance when you were raging. Because barbarians don't believe in magic, and your belief against magic formed a shell around you that deflects missiles.
Because I'm angry.
So mad.
Oh yeah, sorcerer subclass with rage magic, or you could just pick a sorcerer, a wild magic sorcerer, and a wild magic barbarian, and just have both of them going off at the same time.
Why not? There you go.
Just everything around you goes crazy all the time.
I mean, I think barbarian people like to try and combine it with monk, but losing any levels of monk really sucks. Like, it really sucks.
Yeah. Playing two marshals currently really sucks just because of the way extra attack works.
Right. Yeah. You're gonna lose something no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how about a barbarian rune knight fighter? There you go. There's more magic. It's runic.
I love Rune Knight so much. God,
Yeah.
I miss
You get big.
Galatea. Get big, be pretty.
You get big. Yeah, that could be good. You don't really lose much of anything. Dipping into fighter to what? You need to get to 3.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you get
To
a
get
fighting
enlarged
style,
reduce.
which is something barbarians love.
Yep. Exactly. Like, you don't even have to go very far into. Just get 3. Be a runic barbarian. You'd lose the capstone, maybe? Nah, you get to 17.
Rune Knight's difficult to dip because you really want to get to that, I think it's 7 and then 11 spell abilities because as a Rune Knight, you basically get Barbarian Rage.
It's true, yeah.
But, you know, I mean, all of these are fun little ideas that we've been thinking of. But I think we've, at this point, have we exhausted the list of character archetypes?
Yeah, I think so.
At least in D&D. I mean, we could always come back to something like this and go just down the list of, like, we could go down the list of Teens with Attitude characters. They're hard to play off type because you can only pick in your playbook.
Plus, you're playing a teenager, which is any type.
Yeah.
As long as they're moody and sullen.
But yeah, going into like just the generics from like a Shadowrun or something like that, where it's like how to play an off-type face or how to play an off-type, heavy. But no, I think that's a pretty good wrapping up point for us. I want to give a shout out to everybody. Fusca, thank you so much for the raid, and everybody who came here. We are +1 shot. We run D&D games mostly. We also have Powered by the Apocalypse and other games that we run on different nights of the week. We're a bunch of friends who've known each other for a long time and decide to play D&D together. And if you're going to play, you may as well stream it, right? So that's the basic concept of the channel. And we all tend to have a lot of fun thrown around. I know that our next game is going to be this Sunday. It is going to be the second part of the Teens with Attitude Radical Robo Rock Rangers finale that I am running for Aaron and Denitra and Philip and Charles here. And then I think Michelle is in the chat, maybe still, maybe not.
Michelle and our special guests.
Oh, and our special guests. That's right. I need to do another format.
Yes, you do.
Which, by the way,
You're
Michelle,
welcome.
look, I made the names. They're there. You see? I did a thing.
I wonder if she is going to have something to say about the font choice.
What are you talking about? I scratched it in by hand. It's fine.
Yeah.
Besides that, I think our games that come after that, Philip, your next game is next Friday?
She did see. She's proud of you, James.
Yeah, next
correct.
Friday.
After your Sunday game, then the following Friday will be my Splinters of Faith game, yes.
And then that Saturday is Diablo happening, Anton?
Diablo.
Unless something stops it, that is the plan.
And we're knocking on wood, nothing's going to happen.
Yep. So we will be running, our next game is going to be 5 to 5:30 start time on Sunday the 23rd. Sunday the 23rd, because it says 22 today, because we're in Saturday.
You're in Saturday.
Yeah.
All right.
Eastern, yeah.
Eastern Standard, or Eastern Daylight Time. God, I'm so bad at this. We have been +1 shot. You are here on our Twitch channel right now if you're watching us. That means you know that we are at twitch.tv/+1_shot. We also have a YouTube channel where you can watch all of our VODs. This and many other things are in playlist on there. You can go there. That is just at YouTube at +1_shot. No spaces or dashes in between. I'm James. These are all my lovely friends who came here, trapped with me until I was done talking to them for the night. And thank you all so much for coming out. I had a great time talking, and I hope we get to do a lot more of these. We're going to go ahead and do a sign off from here. Everybody, have a good night and have a great weekend. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.